Welcome, everybody, to MogTalk 117, the Caster Show. If you guys are unfamiliar with MogTalk, it is a show based around Final Fantasy XIV and the community, talking about anything related to Chocobo racing, to raiding, to PvP, and today we are focusing in on casters in general, which we are defining as Red Mage, Black Mage, and Summoner. No healers are going to be on this show, and we will not have, like Koda was saying, we're not going to have a samurai on the show. We're going to hold off on that. But guys, I think this is going to be a pretty fun show today, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. And for those people who are watching this in the future, today is August 26, 2017. I know somebody's going to watch this like a year down the road, then comment how none of this stuff makes sense and how we're all wrong because the Square Enix made changes a year later. It's happened, and now you guys have a date stamp, so fuck you. All right. Sorry, that's my own personal thing I had to get out of my system. I want you guys to get familiar with the guests we have today. We have three wonderful guests. They all are pretty good, I think, to say in their roles as caster. So first, I'm going to introduce Lackey Thish. Lackey Thish, can you tell everybody kind of just who you are?
I'm Laqi Thish with a TH.
Thish, is it Thish? I always say Thish.
I actually don't know how it's said. I play primarily Black Mage, but any of the three casters on Sargatanas. That's about it.
That's it. Lackey, are you a bully?
No, not a bully at all. People have this misconception that I bully people, but never happens.
I don't think so either, man. I really don't know what all that really comes from. I do want to ask you another question, Lackey. So, with you clearing your last few turns, how quickly did you clear? Let's see, what is it? 04S. That's what we're going by, right?
Yeah. We killed it the first week on Sunday, I think.
Okay. Sunday. All right. That's awesome. That's if you're doing even like. How much progression did you put into that? Was that like 3-4 hours a day? No, you did a little bit more than that, right?
A little less, about 3 hours a day. We were kind of restricted on time. We did more on Saturday and Sunday, though, so that made up for it. Okay. I don't remember if we missed any days. We might have missed a day, but we did a lot of time Saturday and Sunday since it's like we got to 04S. I think we saw Neo like Thursday or Friday or whatever and thought, we could actually kill this, so put extra time into it.
I gotcha. Yeah. And just to reiterate, you're kind of our Black Mage specialist, right?
Yeah, I completed all 4 turns on Black Mage, which is nice.
Yeah.
There weren't too many Black Mages that did it first week. Most sensible Black Mages went to Red Mage.
Because you're not a very sensible Black Mage, right? Yeah.
Kind of stubborn.
Yeah. I mean, you've been playing Black Mage for how long?
Since the start of the game, primarily Black Mage. I went Summoner for second coil because Black Mage was kind of awful back then. Or if you compare the two, it was not the correct choice. And otherwise, I've gone Summoner for some specific fights like A2 or primarily A2, but for farming like A6, A10. Anything with ads where you can like nuke the ads and take the fun away from the party. I go Summoner.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, let me introduce our next guest here. A lot of people, mainly because I can't say Wafu the entire show. You're Koda.
Yes.
You're Koda today. Okay. Yeah. Amaric's waifu. Why is your name that, by the way?
Because Amaric is my husband, though.
Oh, okay. When did this happen?
He doesn't know it, but there was a ceremony a while ago. We got married.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. Well, that is good to know. I'm going to make sure that that's added properly within the lore. Next time I talk to Koji. Okay, Koda, tell everybody kind of who you are.
I'm a botanist main, and I'm on Leviathan. But when I do PvE content, I usually do it on Summoner. I got into playing Summoner because I first started raiding and really playing the game in Gordius, and no one wanted a Dragoon who didn't know how to do the cart in A2S. So I went summoner, and I just told groups like, oh, well, I don't know how to do the cart, but I can play summoner. And then by Midas, I was just accidentally a summoner main.
Accidentally a summoner main.
Yes.
Okay, is it mainly because you got that enjoyment of blowing the hell out of everything in turn 2?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, that's where a lot of people start. Massive AoE, just lots of ads. So one of the best fights in the game has to be A2S. Okay, so with your experience with the most recent tier, how did you kind of go about handling that? You didn't go red mage, right? You went summoner.
No, we cleared on the Monday of the first week, and we had a really weird schedule because one of our raid members she's like in med school, so the schedule is kind of crazy. And I told them like, if I'm gonna do this like brain dead and like with 0 sleep, then I'm just gonna play the job that I can autopilot, which is summoner. So I just did all of Prague on summoner.
Nice. So you said that you could brain dead?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't think a lot of people refer to summoner that way. At least not recently.
I think there's like a hump or a curve at the beginning, but after you get out over that, it's smooth sailing after that.
Okay. What server are you on again? It's Leviathan?
Leviathan? Yeah.
Okay, all right. Isn't that elitist server?
Oh no, I think we're known as like the cheese server or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
The cheese server, all right. All right, well, let's get on to our final guest here. Mr. God damn it, is it Irene? I forgot
you
that.
can call me that.
All right, Irene Snow. Is that how you say your name? If you were going to say it right now.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think most people call me by that.
Okay. You say most people call you by that like it's not correct. If you were going to say what the correct pronunciation of that was, what would it be?
Yeah. I would use the same pronunciation.
When you made your name, did you just not think about it? You're just like,
Yeah, it was pretty random.
okay, I gotcha. All right, Irene. I might just start calling you Irene. Are you okay with Irene?
Yeah, it's fine.
Or instead of Eirene or whatever, I don't know, because there's a name in America that's very similar to that, and no one calls their kid that unless if they're from like the 1920s. And so, I just want to make sure I wasn't like, making fun of you or something. All right.
Oh, no.
Okay, Irene, can you go ahead and tell everybody sort of who you are?
Okay. Hi, I'm Irene Snow from Tomberry. I've been a custom main since I played this game. So I started around 2.55. That was right before Heaven's Sword came out. Yeah. So Summoner was my first job, and I played it throughout progression for Heaven's Sword. I picked up Black Mage, Machinist Bard along the way, especially because of the double range meta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Stormblood I use Red Mage for progression. And yeah, currently I'm playing Summoner for speedruns.
Summoner for speedruns.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Okay, but you have a lot of experience with Red Mage going through progression. So we have a Black Mage, we have a Summoner, and a Red Mage throughout progression on the show currently. Just to make sure that I'm not completely off. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Irene, you have a certain cosmetic piece to your character that you seem to wear a lot. Is there a story behind that?
Not really. As in, I kind of got the snowman head, and it just stuck around as a glamour since it kind of fits the name.
Okay.
And people started knowing me by the head as well. Yeah.
Okay. It stands
in my
out.
server, anyway. Yeah, it does.
So, are you a fan of snow? Do you like cold things? Do you like? Because
Well, I live
I'm
in
frosty
Singapore.
is the reason I'm asking. And
I mean, I live in Singapore, so there isn't any snow here.
okay.
Yeah.
But it's something you dream about.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad we had this conversation. All right, so guys, we have a wonderful cast here today to discuss lots of different things about casters. We plan to jump around a little bit. We don't have I don't want it to be like concrete, this is the conversation, and it will stay 100% streamlined. Like, we're going to just have a discussion today. And I want to talk about how the jobs play, how it works in Storm's Blood compared to Heaven's Ward, and kind of maybe advice for new players going out there might be struggling a little bit. Just a ton of people. Wonderful CASTER. Fucking Ms. Tech. Oh God, sorry, I couldn't stop there. All right, so guys, we plan to have a wonderful show today. I want to start off having a conversation kind of about how the caster landscape is overall right now and how people are feeling about Red Mage, Summoner, Black Mage in-game rating. Do you guys feel like it's overall positive? Do you feel like it's bad? Or you feel like it's kind of in the same place it was in Heavensward?
It's
People are
heading
already
toward the same
doing-
place.
Yeah, they're already doing double ranged right now.
That pretty much like killed a lot of people's I don't know, caster aspirations here because it was like 9 months of that, right? People killed creator and it was just like, all right, double range now, and no one went back to caster. And you guys feel like it's going to happen the exact same way?
Yeah. I mean, they've stated that they're gonna do something about Summoner and Machinist next patch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Machinist, they already buffed, and it does like enough damage to be worth taking along with a Bard. So if by changes they mean we're gonna buff it more, and then maybe we're gonna buff like Bard because we accidentally overbuffed Machinist, that is really a bad way to go. Like at the very start of the expansion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they gave them dot buffs, guys. Come on. Those potency buffs on dots not fix everything?
It's
Very good.
actually a lot of damage.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Summoner is pretty strong right now.
I think the complaints that people have about Summoner aren't really about their damage. It's about like the mechanics and how the class plays and how really fucking annoying pets are.
That's scholars and summoners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pets are just clunky, man, and like they have to revamp that system completely. Like they have to change the net code, I think, to fix that. I can't think of any good way.
It has always been the same way since Heavensward, so I don't see why it's like a huge issue now, but not in the past. You just,
think,
as
like,
in, yeah. I mean, of
You
course,
had
there is that
18
contagion
seconds
change.
for contagion.
Yeah, you had an 18-second window to make that dumb bitch hit her button, and now it's like you need to wait for her to hit it first before you do things like after it. So I think it's like infinitely more annoying now.
So it's a little bit more time sensitive, and you're waiting for that clunkiness to kind of pan out, I guess, when you hit that button, right? Or did I say that completely?
There are ways to bait it out, yeah, but in general, the timing for Garuda is a lot tighter for summoners right now. If you want to do optimal DPS,
Okay.
it makes it interesting though. I kind of feel like Ifrit is pretty boring.
Yo, Ifrit is my homie.
I have Ifrit, by the way, as the background for the show right now. If you guys didn't know that, you can't see him too well, but he's there. He's there. All right, so talked about Summoner a little bit, but how about Black Mages? How are they doing? Are they in a pretty good spot, or are they pretty crappy right now? Lackey, I'm going to let you voice out.
In general, I think they're in a really good spot. If you're going for like, oh, what is optimal speed kill meta stuff? Maybe not, but so they do enough damage that the fact that they don't have any utility is mostly fine. Outside of like we're gonna stack double range kind of thing. I think it plays really well. I like the job more than in Heavensward and more. Yeah, I think Black Mage is the most fun it's been since the start of the game, actually.
Huh. All right, that's awesome. You know what?
Like-
That's awesome to hear good things on this show already. Positivity.
So Black Mage was pretty fun at the start of 4.0, but kind of clunky. It had basically the cost of spells was weird, and if you didn't get a mana tick this way, then your rotation would change in this other way, or you'd have to anticipate it in whatever way. And the timing on everything was really tight. Like, oh, instead of 12 seconds to fit 3 spells, you have 13 seconds to fit 4 spells. But the patch right before Omega came out fixed the timing issue, fixed the MP issue. Like, it buffed Black Mage's damage, which is good because it really needed it. but it did it in a way that actually also made it flow a lot better. So I really like where the job is right now.
Okay. Awesome. Now, a lot of people will state it's definitely in progression. Why would you bring a summoner or a black mage when you could bring a red mage who could just res everybody? Is that true?
It's true if your group has enough DPS,
Okay.
for progression at least.
Which
Well, the problem with that is that, I mean, I've done pucks myself, so
Mhm.
on Red Mage and on Summoner and Black Mage. So the idea is that in pucks, especially in JP pucks, their damage is pretty bad. And what happens is that it's so bad that as long as there's even one death, it's basically a wipe because you can't meet the enrage timer for like a 03s. So in that case, right, then the resurrection of Red Mage is like effectively rendered useless because if someone dies, it's already over. And the thing about Red Mage is that it doesn't really do a lot of damage. And Embolden kind of like relies on your allies to do the damage for you. So relative to a Black Mage or a Summoner, it's a lot harder to carry a group as a Red Mage if your group's DPS is bad. But that being said, if you're just trying to see the fight, Red Mage is insanely overpowered. I mean, you have seen the video that Angered put out about how they managed to hit the Enrage in 04S really, really early into progression. That's one factor of it. And if your group has really, really high DPS, Red Mage just trivializes the entire content. I've cleared like 03S for multiple weeks with like 10 to 14 deaths. It's possible because you just have so much DPS that it doesn't matter. You just keep raising. So the only job as a Red Mage is really just don't die, because if you die, you can't rest people.
Right.
Yeah, so it kind of like becomes your responsibility not to die, because once you die, then your healers have to struggle to get everyone up.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit, just a quick rundown on overall balance here. Would you say like the balance is at like at least a decent level for all three casters right now? Not like horrible, like one might be a little bit lower, one might be a little bit higher, but not like Paladin Dark Knight on A12S.
I don't really know Summoner, but for Black Mage, Red Mage, they're good enough. Like, Black Mage, if you're really good, will do more damage than Red Mage could bring, even considering Embolden. But Red Mage is really, really convenient. Like, learning a fight is very easy. Being able to res people is incredibly nice if you're doing weekly stuff. If you're doing just general want to kill the fight, the res is like amazing, right?
Yeah, we actually have our Black Mage going Red Mage right now, just because of that fact for progression. But
You monster.
yeah. We didn't ask him to. He wanted to, which is kind of interesting that it had that appeal to it. Do you guys feel like the Red Mage appeal kind of worn off, or is worn off? Because everybody was super hyped about it before the expansion. Do you think people are still hyped about Red Mage now?
Personally, I was pretty hyped about it, and then I leveled it to like 70, and I kind of feel bored with it. It's a really neat job at 50, like at 60, it feels very complete. And like even when you get level synced and you're like stuck in a level 20 dungeon or whatever, like you still have AoE and stuff, so it's like, oh, this feels so fun compared to like being stuck in here on another job. But then at 70, I don't know, it just, I guess the appeal wore off for me. And in my group, I'm always the one dying, so like the being in charge of the res isn't really good for me.
Okay, so you're the one that's always fucking up, so you need a Red Mage. You don't
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. All right. So, kind of how I want to run into some of these thoughts going forward here with this show is I kind of want to hit every single one a little bit after we do a little bit of just general advice. And I mean, I want to say, hey, we're doing a summoner, kind of, let's go into detail about it, so. But first, before we get into that, there's some basic stuff that people need to just know. If you're getting used to like casters in general, they might want to know what stats they need to be going for, right? So what stats are casters going for?
Summoner and Red Mage, I think, is like critical hit and direct hit, but we don't have like stat weights anymore. You're supposed to calculate kind of how much effective damage you do with all of your different substats.
What?
Yeah, it's I think Derby said something like, "I'm sorry about stat weights." I don't remember the exact quote.
Okay, so explain this, because this might be in a bigger conversation than Casters itself, but I feel like I was left out of the loop on this.
Lackey, you go. You're one of the theory
So
people.
basically, stat weights only work when you're close to the stats they were calculated for. So like, if you say, "Oh, I'm gonna wear this gear set with a ton of crit," and then you get the stat weights for it, it'll make crit sound really good.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's not actually the best choice. Maybe like if you had the set with more direct hit or like this balance of them or whatever, then you'd actually do more DPS. But the stat weights won't tell you that because you calculated them at whatever specific gear.
Okay.
So
The main reason why this is the case, because we don't really have a calculator that calculates dynamic stat weights for you. So in like World of Warcraft, there is a calculator that allows you to key in your stats and it will calculate out an actual stat weight for that particular combination of stats. But in FF, we don't really have this right now. So if you're just going by a static stat weight, then it's not going to make much sense. Yeah.
Okay, so stats change depending on whatever other stats you have as well.
yeah.
Okay.
And kind of related to that, like, so for Red Mage and Summoner, you can say spell speed is the worst stat. Like, you could pretty definitively say that, because like 50% of Summoner's damage isn't benefited by spell speed, and like 30% of Red Mages is same thing. So if you get all the gear that avoids spell speed, then if you choose the worst melds out of crit, direct hit, death on that, and if you choose the best melds, you're still within like 0.5% of your damage. So it matters because you're DPS and you want to optimize and you're paying money for materia, but it's like kind of the last thing you should really care about versus actually just playing really well.
Mm-hmm. And getting a higher ping, right?
People should try not to be too obsessed with the actual melts, because it's probably better time spent on trying to learn your class, in a sense. As in, it's really not a huge difference between getting crit or dead. Yeah, stuff like that.
Huh. I did not expect to hear that.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, everyone wants to get the BIS gear, as in like, I want to min max exactly for my equipment, because it's an external factor that's outside of my playing skills and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just that currently it's not that straightforward in terms of how the melt should be, and so you don't really need to fret so much about it. Is what Laqi is trying to say, because the percentage difference is really, really small. And if you want to go even more in depth into it, you can say that it's a preference of play as well, because if you go for a high crit direct hit, so your variance of your damage is going to be higher. If you go for something like a dead direct hit build, it's going to be more stable. So what do you really want then?
That's true.
I mean, do you want a stable damage, or do you want to hit those RNG rolls and try to get something that's really high in one run or really low in another run? So there are a lot of
RNG.
factors at play. Yeah. So it's even if you try and calculate, this is the theoretical BIS, correct? But then there could be another set rate that could deal lower average damage, but with a higher variance, which gives you the higher potential to do more damage. And that may be something that you wanted, something like a speed run, because in a speed run you're trying to just YOLO it, with AST cards and stuff. So you might just want to deviate towards a build with higher crit and direct hit, just so that you have a chance to get those really high opener numbers and stuff. Yeah. So it's really more of a preference thing. Yeah, and it's not really too much to fret about in a sense.
Okay, awesome. So guys, relax.
At least for Summoner and Red Mage. For Black Mage, it's just really weird because all the stats are equally valuable. So
yeah, on Black Mage, like, all stats are good on Black Mage, and spell speed is good based on your ping and like your comfort level on fights, and also just general preference. So you could do a really high spell speed build with Black Mage, it will probably be amazing. You can do a really low spell speed one, and it'll also be amazing. Black Mage is kind of like to taste.
Huh. So just
Like,
depending on how you want to play.
yeah, spell speed. Outside of even just, oh, does this increase my DPS? Spell speed has kind of intangible, like, oh, I could get these cast off with before having to dodge, which increases DPS because I didn't cancel the cast, right? So,
Okay.
yeah.
But if you like just sitting still the entire time and still getting good DPS and making people heal you for standing AoE.
If you know the fight really well, Black Mage at a high enough spell speed to do whatever like rotation changes, but a very low spell speed should be really strong. Like in Heaven's Ward, it was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if you looked at stat weights back then, oh, spell speed is like 0.3, 0.4, 0.6, like 2.5 int or whatever, and people would just stack spell speed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So are you happy? I just out of curiosity, because it seems more like stat weights are a little bit more loose than they were before. Are you guys happy about that? Or do you guys like definitive answers?
I mean, it's always been this case though. It's just that Dovey is now trying to get people out of that mindset that they are static stat reads.
Okay. All right.
So it's really more of a perspective change rather than something that is changed within the game itself.
Okay, that's a good point. For example, the perspective change that happened sometime in A Realm Reborn about DPS and kind of how people viewed it overall, and when warriors start to kick up and become really popular, right? Because it really wasn't that much. Well, I guess that was more in like the first Gordius part, where everyone was trying to be super optimal with DPS, and it became like the high priority to everything. Am I crazy for saying that?
No. Gordius did a good job changing people's mentality on fights.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the other thing, if you had to give like just general quick advice for people who play casters, let's say not going into deep detail, but things that could cross in between the different jobs, Red Mage, Black Mage, Summoner. What's some things that you might tell people they need to practice on if they feel like they kind of have a good idea about it now, how to use their abilities and everything? What are things that they could do to do a little bit better? And I'm going to start here with Koda. I'm going to make Koda start.
Okay. I guess just the ABC is always be casting or writing your GCD. Sometimes people, like, we're all on the balance Discord, and sometimes people will link their FF logs and they just don't have very high casts per minute or like just really simple stuff like that.
Okay. So, Irene, do you have something that you would tell them?
Yeah, adding on to that, I mean, everyone actually isn't doing ABC right. So
are they
assume
not?
that you are. Yeah, as in even the best of players aren't really doing ABC right, especially for casters, because you're casting, right? You're not like a melee who's just pressing an instant skill. So you have to identify what are the instant skills that you have and always be casting something. Other than that, there's also the part about your OGCDs and buffs. So make sure that you're always using them. So if it's a 6-minute fight and your buff is a 2-minute cooldown, then make sure you get a use at 0 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, etc. and so on. So I mean, I know a lot of people would try to say, oh, I'm going to hold this buff and hold this skill so that I can get it in trick attack or some read buff and things like that. But in general, if your group isn't really coordinated and you're not going to the kind of optimization level, what you should just do, simply put, is to just use everything you have on cooldown. Make sure that they are not just sitting there and waiting for someone to use it. It might not be optimal in all cases, but it's a good way to start.
Yeah.
If you are doing badly. Yeah. And last thing is probably slide casting. It's more relevant for Black Mage and Red Mage. In fact, it's for all casters really. So the game works in such a way that by the time you finish around 70 or 80% of your cast, you can actually start moving and a cast will still be completed. This depends on your latency. So you do have to test it out in a dummy and stuff like that. But it's a really useful skill because you can just do micro movements to the spot that you want without really losing a cast.
Yep. Everybody, almost every single job that has any kind of cast at all should probably be thinking about that stuff too. I do slide casting on a paladin, so Lackey, tell people what's the best way to slide cast, Lackey? Is there a good way? Is there like a pro strat?
Do the cast, you figure out when you can cut it off with your latency, and it'll still go off, and that's what it is. Like it's very much a to feel thing, right? When the servers were in Montreal, I knew, I could stop cast. I could do this cast. I could move at this point in it. It would finish. And then they moved to California, and I got stuck with this awful 40 milliseconds ping. And now it's like, the cast has to be a lot closer before I can move, or else it cancels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you guys feel about the server switch? Just a small tangent here. Are you guys happy about that?
My ping went from like 120 to 40, but I can't tell a difference. I think I'm just too retarded to even notice.
Irene, you don't care at all. You can not your server.
It doesn't affect me. Yeah.
Do you play on NA servers at all?
No, I've tried once and it was pretty cancerous because at like 200 ping, right? So there are times where I played Black Mage and I use Swiftcast, and the Swiftcast won't register before your next cast. So you'll be used to be hard casting like a Fire 4 while the Swiftcast buff is waiting to be up, and that's ridiculous. Yeah, but in general though, latency can be pretty good for Black Mages in terms of slide casting.
Oh, Lackey,
it might not really be a bad thing.
It feels really good, at least. Like, I'm pretty sure, even though it feels really good and it feels like you didn't miss any casting time, because you're at like 150 ping or whatever, you are doing things slower than like if you're at 40 or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you can demonstrate this on a dummy pretty easily, but it doesn't feel bad, especially on Black Mage. You used to have very few off GCDs, and now you have triple cast, so you can weave off GCDs really frequently when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
So Black Mage at high ping isn't really that bad.
Okay.
And like Kari mentioned, there is a bug currently, so if you have really high ping, you can get double Ruin Falls off. So you can cast your second Ruin Fall before the game registers that you have already casted the first Ruin Fall, and you get 2 cast off with 1 proc.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That seems kind of broken.
Well,
are you going to like start doing like ping zapper, but like make it hurt your latency just so you can get better DPS?
I'll go through Brazil or something.
Yeah. Shoot way over there, come back. Okay. All right, so I just wanted to get a couple of those things out of the way in case somebody who's here is like, hey, I kind of play caster. I want a little bit of info. But usually it's just a whole bunch of memers that are in here supporting you guys, telling you guys horrible jokes. Like, what was one that was said just a second here? Always be casual. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that sounds like me. I like the casual life.
Casual life is great, man. I get the laugh. Someone dies. I'm like, what an idiot. And it's not like, I can't believe you did this. Slam my stuff and too try hard, man. Okay, so let's hit all of these like kind of one by one, kind of get a little bit of perspective here. And I wanted to do yours first, Koda. I wanna hit Summoner a little bit here.
Okay.
And you guys, of course, just because this is Koda's job here, right? Doesn't mean you guys don't have to chime in here. Irene, you can correct Koda when she's wrong, right?
Wow.
Irene, if you bully me, I'll tell your astrologian.
Is that how you say it, astrologian?
I don't know, maybe.
She's
sure.
not my astrologian.
Oh,
Look at the
whatever she is.
Okay. So one thing you mentioned to me, we kind of talked about how they are in Stormblood, but you said that players kind of generally treat Summoner as it's like a mystified kind of job. Like they feel mystified at least by it. Can you go into a little bit more detail about that?
I'm probably projecting about that because when I first started playing Summoner in 3.1, the only like resource there was a 60-page Google Doc that was a shit ton of text. Yeah, it was like a shit ton of text and like 20 pages of math or something. And I was like, holy shit! Like I just wanted to play this job to like clear A2S weekly or something. So it felt really intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's kind of like this barrier, I guess, or like the skill floor, I guess you could say. And I guess it just made it seem like intimidating or confusing or something to people. And I would notice like Reddit had some poll like at the end of Heaven's Ward, like what are the hardest DPS jobs in the game? And people were saying like machinist and summoner a lot, and I think they also said ninja. And I don't know, I don't really agree with that. Like machinist was definitely kind of weird at first because like you have the
Machinist is
wildfire.
easy. Oh my god.
Like at the end of the day, it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3 thing, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
that window with wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that wasn't really true. So I guess I just have this impression that people think that it's like this mystical, magical thing or whatever. And in
Summoners
Stormblood,
are magical.
yes, we are
Okay.
literally fucking wizards. And then in Stormblood, Irene over here wrote like a 30-page guide, which okay, that's like half the length of High Highs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like and like the opener spreadsheet, it's very, very long. Like Irene links to like 2 huge FF14 rotation links that are just, it's gigantic. And I can definitely sympathize with someone who looks at that and goes, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm gonna go play Red Mage. So the impression that I get.
Oh, jeez. So I mean, Lackey, Irene, do you feel the same way about that? Do you feel like some players maybe are a little bit intimidated?
Well, I guess since Koda has mentioned about machinists and summoners, so both of the classes are similar in that it has a pretty high skill floor. In that you really need to understand how the class works, or like how the opener works or rotation works. But the thing is that after you've got past this hurdle, then it isn't really as difficult as you once thought it is, because both summoner and machinists do not require a lot of optimization in terms of uptime, because we have ruin tools, as machinist is practically an instant class skill, instant cast class. Okay. Yeah, so basically it's really more about the high skill floor because about learning the job mechanics. But once you've learned it and got it down, it isn't really that hard. But the problem with Summoner in 4.0 is that it's unintuitive. So this is a problem that SE should address in 4.1, is that some of the skills don't make sense. Is that why would you want to go into Dragon Trance just to end it immediately in your opener?
Why would
So
you
for
want to use
someone who isn't
Admiral
really
with
thinking
cooldown?
about the entire picture about what is going on, you would just do things in a really awkward manner. Yeah.
Koda, what were you saying?
Oh, like one of the things that I thought was strange and like unintuitive, I guess, is that your roll skill, Addle, which is like the int down, you can use it as a DPS gain, and I think that's really strange.
Yeah, I think is there a cooldown like that you have to worry about with that too? It's
2 minutes.
2 minutes, right? So yeah, that is kind of weird because you say either I need it for a mechanic to be more optimal during a fight, and see that's I think the trouble with a lot of skills that come out there that are built like that. It's hey, do I try to do more DPS or do I try to actually help the healers out more, right? And so most people say I'm just going to try to do more DPS, and then they don't get to use their utility. Whereas there are some situations where, for example, reprisal, you don't get anything from that except for helping the raid. You're like, hey, what else can I do? I'm going to use reprisal. And sorry for relating to tank stuff. It's just what I know. All right. And so I think that's a good way to put a lot of these skills and abilities. But then again, people start forgetting to use it because they're like, why would I touch it? I'd rather just focus on my DPS gain. All right. And I feel like that's a mentality of a lot of players out there right now, not just with casters, but just in general, people who are out there like, how do I do the most DPS? It's not how do I most efficiently help the raid. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, with the like, so on caster, 04S, I have specific places I use Addle and APOC, and those are like the big caster utility now, right? And 03S, I have a couple places I use APOC and a couple places I might use Addle if things like seem dangerous. But otherwise, I never really use those in any of the fights. And it's kind of like talking to the group about figuring out where to use these, it's like, oh, hey, we also have Palisade. That's like a physical APOC. When do we want to use this on the tank? Or Feint, right? Feint is the physical virus. Like outside of O4S, I feel like that we probably also don't use much. Or if it's used, it was just kind of thrown out there. It wasn't like, let's try to optimize where this will benefit the healers. It's a lot of effort versus, oh, the healers and the tanks have all the mitigation, mostly the healers, and they work together to figure out how to maximize it.
It's true. You know, it's actually a pretty funny statement because I had my bard say, hey, just let me know when you need Palisade. And I'm like, I really don't know. I can't think of a situation to where like I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. This is horrible. I always have an answer. Like I always have a solution here on my side. I don't feel like it ever gets to a point to like, holy crap, I really need Palisade here. I guess that works the same way with APOC and everything else. So that discussion, even though he was like prompting, like, hey, how can I help you out? Like I didn't have an answer for him because I don't feel like the content even remotely required him to use it.
There's also that easier content, you kind of don't need the utility, so you don't think about using it.
That's weird. Because it's awesome that it exists. And I think the way that they designed it, it's important to have that kind of stuff out there so you can be optimal in every single way. But at the end of the day, when you don't provide a reason to be optimal, it kind of sucks. Which, again, we can shoot back to Gordius. People had to be optimal. And that's why people got optimal, right? So let's make mitigation. Force people to do proper mitigation everywhere. But
it is a good change, though. I feel that to give the DPS some responsibility in terms of mitigation. Because back then in Creator and Heavensward, it's like the DPS just needs to DPS and not worry about anything else. So it's good that they are giving more responsibility to the DPS. So they're also more aware of mechanics. As far as I know, that a lot of people in Creator or in Heavensward, they do not remember rotation mechanics. So what they just do is that they remember only the mechanics that affects them. Anything else, the tank busters or the AoE damage and stuff like that, it's all out of their mind. It's just their rotation and the mechanics that they have to deal with. So it's a good shift in that sense as well. It's also, as in this tier is pretty bad still, because I personally feel that the DPS is doing nothing. All the responsibilities on the healers and tanks, which is pretty boring. But I think you guys have talked about it in the Angered talk as well. It's a Wolfers group that as a DPS, it's actually really boring. There's nothing you need to do, which is why playing Red Mage is a good thing, because you actually feel useful. As far as I know, my melees were probably like half bored because they're just waiting for the healers to get the stuff down. There's nothing to do as a mele.
Right. Okay, we'll jump off that tangent for a little bit here, and we'll get back to Summoner. I just thought it's a pretty interesting point that utility is for DPS it's there, but it's not where I want it to be yet. I want people to be like, I need Palisade right here, and to be angry when someone doesn't put Palisade up. But I don't think that's where we're at right now.
It's a mentality shift that people have to kind of adjust to.
Yeah. All right. So the other part about summoners that I figured was a pretty good topic, mainly because Koda, you were telling me, is that it's not great sometimes to play summoner. It's a little clunky. It doesn't feel good. Is that true for most cases?
I fucking hate Garuda.
You hate Garuda?
Yeah.
Does it mainly come down to the pets for the clunkiness?
Yeah, it feels like pet stuff. Like, so Summoner has a skill called Devotion, and what it does is it's like 5% damage, 5% less damage taken, and like 5% healing. And I think the reason why it does all that shit is because it just targets the party member closest to the pet, who could be fucking anyone. Like half the time it ends up on my healers, so.
But you got to move it around, right?
Dude,
position the pet.
That's effort.
It's a DPS loss unless you slide cast your pet, which is
it's
pretty difficult to do.
Okay.
And lately I've been using Ifrit actually instead of Garuda, and with Ifrit you leave him on sick and he just does his own thing. And it's great. Like I don't have to micro him at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Irene will argue that you should put Ifrit on Obey and manually use all of his abilities, but that is like 20 levels above me.
It's a DPS lost.
It's a DPS loss not to manage all of his abilities?
Yes, because when you use a pet on sick, it doesn't queue his OGCDs. So basically, as in part of why people feel that the pets are clunky is because they do not really understand how does the pet work.
Oh,
Yeah, the idea behind it is that you have to work around the pet. So the general gist of it is that the pet only likes to do one OGCD in every GCD window. So let's say if he does his normal attack. So he does a GCD, and then he can only queue up one of his OGCD skills. So the OGCD skill can be your Radiant Shield, your AoE skill, your Stun skill, or Devotion, or Enkindle. And you can only queue one of it. So what happens is that people find it like people always complain that, oh, my Enkindle isn't going off. So the reason why it's not going off is because you probably ordered Ifrit to do like an AoE skill before pressing Enkindle. And Ifrit will tell you that I'm only going to do one thing at a time. And he will just tell you that, no, I'm not going to use Enkindle. So, which is the reason why when you are planning around using a pet, you have to stagger your OGCDs. So make sure if you know that you're going to click on the AoE skill, make sure that you click Devotion only after you see the pet use the skill.
Okay.
And etc. for all skills. So once you get this down, you understand what are the pet's behavior with regards to your skills, then it becomes a lot less frustrating because you know exactly what it's going to do. The only point of time where it gets terrible is when your latency is bad, and then that's where ping really affects your pet responsiveness. But besides that, which is like maybe 10% of the time, 90% of the time the pet can do exactly what you tell it to do. It's just that people need to know the limitations behind the pet system.
Oh, okay, Koda. I think he was trying to talk shit.
No, that's okay. I know I'm lazy.
Okay. So for the lazy player, it's clunky. But for the non-lazy player, the person that's like super crazy high APM.
It's not just really like Ifrit and Garuda. It's also like Bahamut. So like the way that he works, it makes sense with how the other pets in the game work, but at the same time, it's annoying. Like he will try to. So if your pet doesn't have something to attack, it'll kind of like run to your side like a little lost puppy or something, because like it doesn't have something to attack. And Bahamut, he only attacks when you attack or like when you kind of tell him to attack. So if he doesn't have like something to do, like he'll just kind of hover around you. And so when you move, like he tries to move with you, but it's kind of weird because his skills say that they have like 100 yalm range. So if you can fucking Akmorn from Narnia, dude, like why do you have to be in my hitbox?
Well, I guess that's a pretty good point.
I have a feeling that is to do with getting LOS. So
Probably.
if you're in a dungeon and you use Bahamut and then you go to the next room, and if Bahamut is sitting there, he won't hit anything.
Well, if he has LOS, then he just runs.
He's blocked by a wall.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's not hard to code that kind of AI, right? I wouldn't think. If you were
I think he was on like
Lackey
a
on that.
FF12
He's a
gambit
programmer.
system or something is how the pets work.
the FF12 system is how the pets work?
Yeah, like the gambit system or whatever.
Oh man, I didn't think about that. Would you agree with that, Irene? Do you know have you ever played FF12?
No, I've not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Are you one of those players that you've never played a Final Fantasy game except for Final Fantasy 14?
No. I've played the classic ones like FF5, 4.
Okay.
When I was young, yeah. But not the later ones because I don't own a PlayStation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't have a console.
That's okay. It's coming out soon to PC. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I could play on an emulator, but yeah, I just haven't got to it yet.
A PlayStation 4 emulator?
No, I think this one for PS2.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So besides pets, Koda, tell me about the other parts of clunkiness with Summoner. There's a couple other bits in here, right?
I think the whole ACT and FF logs thing is kind of weird for Summoner. Right now, like ACT hasn't been updated for the recent dot potency buff, so I think people are like they're looking at ACT and assuming, oh, like Summoner does X damage, but then you upload to FF logs and you'll gain like a ton of DPS. And part of it is dots, and the other thing is like if you're using Ifrit, Radiant Shield now, like the reflect damage gets added to your DPS on FF logs, so it just kind of gets higher naturally.
So, like right now, FF Logs is bugged out and summoners look ridiculous.
Oh no, it's that's intentional from the site creator.
Oh, really?
FF logs is probably more accurate.
Mhm.
Well, it's definitely more accurate because of the dot thing, but just in general, it's probably more accurate than ACT. And basically, the FF logs creator guy, the guy who maintains everything, has been going through a bunch of stuff recently, and someone brought up like, oh, Radiant Shield. So awkwardly, in all of 3.0, in everything since 4.0, Radiant Shield did not show up on FF logs at all, the reflect damage. And Vengeance reflect damage also did not show up. So you would use Vengeance on a warrior, all these things would be reflecting damage back, and you would never see the DPS on FF logs. That's been fixed since then. And since it's been fixed, some people brought up like, well, the summoner is the one whose pet is using Radiant Shield, so even though you, the paladin, got the buff and the boss attacked you and you reflected damage, that should probably count toward the summoner's DPS. And you can kind of go both ways on it, but that's the direction the guy decided to take, so that's how FF Logs is right now.
So why don't you just give, you know, the potency buff for every time a crit is produced from Battle Litany?
Those are a lot harder to calculate. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that would be interesting. Say, hey, I bring this much DPS to the group because of my buffs and what I'm doing versus what this other guy's doing. All right?
Well,
But those are actually in the works.
Yeah. Like he wants to make some kind of battle report that shows people like roughly how much raid DPS you contributed.
Like, he doesn't want to do ranks based on it, but he wants you to be able to see, like, oh, the Bard, you know, Foe was worth this much DPS for this group, and Battle Voice was worth this much, and Trick Attack was worth this much, whatever. But those are a lot more complicated, so they're still being worked on. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Are you guys happy about that? Are you guys big FF Log fans? Are you guys kind of like, about FF Logs? I mean, in the general perspective of the community.
You're into speed running, I guess. You'll be using logs quite a lot. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I say that just because, like, people complain about FF Logs as, like, the worst thing that ever happened to the community. And then people will also, the same person will also say FF Logs is great if you know how to use it, though. Right? Are you guys on that same kind of mentality?
So I didn't raid in Coil, so I don't really have anything to like compare it to. I think people who say like it's the worst thing that happened to the community, like maybe they have experience in Coil where FF Logs wasn't a thing and like they're relating to that. But for me, like it's always been here since I started raiding, so I don't really think two ways about it. Like it's just always there.
Okay.
Yeah, as a tool, I think it's amazing. I've recently been into it because some people showed me you can see like, oh, in this parse, here's all the damage everyone did during Trick Attack windows only. And so being able to kind of guesstimate how much like Trick Attack or Embolden or whatever is worth is really interesting to me. Otherwise, I don't care. Like, people use it to get padded runs to be number one. That's great. That's cool. Whatever. People use it to call other people out. Okay, whatever. That's cool too.
It's cool. Whatever. Lackey understands because apparently you're a bully, right?
Like, people are toxic. They're gonna be toxic however they can be. It's fine.
Okay. All right. So to kind of go back to the summoner a little bit here. Actually, you know what, Irene? I didn't get your thoughts on how people perceive FF Logs.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm more of the same opinion as Lackey in the sense that
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's really more about it's really useful as a tool to look at optimization for speedruns.
Mhm.
Um, padded runs is just pretty stupid, I feel. I've kind of like wanted to make a suggestion for speed runs, which is to not include Astro. I
Mm.
know that as in it may sound bad in the sense that you are ostracizing an entire class, but it would really reduce the RNG involved with speedrunning, and it could make speedrunning a bit more objective in a sense.
But then in
So
the
as in
end,
it isn't about your balance RNG, and
Mhm.
it's more about how the group is playing. But of course, the argument against that is that there's still a lot of RNG involved besides that. So whether is it the mechanics or is it crit, and with the existence of direct hit,
Mhm.
so people could still be farming for crit runs, direct hit runs. So
I mean, people are still going to be interested in whatever the fastest fight is, even if like it's not listed on the FF logs. They're going to be like, "Hey, look at what I've done. I've cleared this fight a minute faster because I brought an Astro." All right.
well, but the kind of feeling I get is that we have moved past that because remember in I think it was in Creator where people were trying to do 5 or 6 DPS for A9S,
Mhm.
and then they created a whole separate section, which ended up being obsolete because people just didn't want to look at the non-normal comp. So it's
Mhm.
really more of a community thing, as in what do they deem as the accepted uh, metric to use for speedruns.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that it would actually be better if you remove S from it, because I know that a lot of people are pretty turned off by speedruns because they don't want to wait for double balances, and it's actually a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in you just sit there and wait for like 10 minutes just for your Astro to draw 2 balance cards, and then if he gets the second balance card, you click the pull macro. If he doesn't get a card, then you just sit there and wait and wait and wait, and then if your group is not consistent,
Mhm.
then you get a second balance card, you go 1 minute to the fight and someone messes up, and then you wipe and you repeat and repeat and repeat.
Yep.
So that experience is something that not a lot of people like.
I don't think anybody likes it.
I don't know, maybe some people do.
Maybe some people are masochistic sitting there. Same people who sit there with razors on their wrist, I guess. I don't know. Sorry. So going back to Summoner and kind of talking about this a little bit more. The one thing, it's funny. Everybody is talking about this, and it's like one of the biggest deals. And Square Enix has acknowledged this, and this is like the Summoner thing. Bahamut's just too big. Is that really a huge issue? Or are you guys okay with the size of Bahamut?
Personally, I don't really care about his size. I think it came up because of the live letter where the only summoner questions asked were like, can we have sustain back, and like, can we make I don't know. I thought that was like, those are weird questions, I think. I'm not really too bothered by it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Although I have, so when Susano farm parties, I have had someone tell me that they couldn't see like a stack marker because of Bahamut. So I made it a point of just standing on the melee every time so no one could see anything.
Nice. I mean, you
That's
gotta
what I
have
do
some
on
way to have
Summoner.
fun. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Lackey said that's what you do on Summoner.
Yeah, my ninja complained about it, so I made sure to run on melee and call out, "I'm deleting this flank now," and summon Bahamut.
Nice. Okay, so I forgot the sustain thing was another thing that you guys mentioned. What's wrong with sustain?
I think people wanted it for soloing. So like once you hit 70 and like you don't have any like solo trials or MSQ, like whatever. I don't really miss it. I think some scholars mentioned something about missing it, but I'm not sure entirely why. Maybe it's different for them.
Sustain, over all of its duration, does less than doing. Over, I don't know about currently. In Heaven's Ward, it did less than doing one physic on the pet as scholar. So,
But
like
it was
maybe
free,
there was a
right?
good use. It takes a GCD, but it's faster than the GCD, so you could like weave something in the second half or something.
Well, I think it's weird for summoners because you have a tank pet, but you don't have any way to heal the tank pet. But you also don't use the tank pet at like really,
Oh yeah,
you don't-
there's Titan.
yeah, you don't chicken nuggy.
Yeah, chicken nugget.
Yeah. I haven't used Titan since like the summoner job quest, and
He actively works against Bahamut.
yeah. Cause so Bahamut makes your pet disappear, right? So if you're using Titan and then you use Bahamut, like your fucking tank pet is gone. So
So, do you guys feel like they need to rework that at all? And instead of having Titan completely useless at the end game, should they find a way to make Titan useful, or is it just what it is?
some people suggested like maybe sustain should like be built into Titan's kit because he's like the only summoner pet who's the tank, so he's the only one who might really need it.
Hmm.
He like his auto attack like gives him health back or something, but I don't particularly miss it.
You don't care about Titan. Titan's
I
whatever.
really well, okay.
I
The only
mean-
time that I've used Titan at max level content was it was in Heaven's Ward, and people wanted to try doing Bouth Z with like summoners, Titans tanking, and like splitting the cleave. So we had like people with like your pet stats are based on your own when you summon it. So people would put on like their fending accessories and then summon Titan and like do it out an extra HP. So that was the only time that I ever used Titan.
Oh Jesus! I remember Ramu. That's when Titan was like in his prime. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I missed that.
Do
Like,
you really?
I worked that day. No, I mean I missed getting to do it.
Oh.
They patched it super quickly, right?
It took a while. I think at least a week or so. It wasn't like super quick. I remember being really pissed off about it as a tank. That I wasn't really invited to remove groups anymore. But yeah, no, it was pretty ridiculous. And I never want that situation to happen again. But I do think it would be interesting to have like a reason to change. Would you guys want to change pets like mid-battle? Like say, hey, now I'm going to use Ifrit because it's best here. Now I'm going to use Garuda because it's best here. Maybe now I'm going to use Titan because it's useful here. Or do you guys want to be static one pet?
I guess like the Final Fantasy job, or like traditionally, like you'd have multiple summons, and like I think the whole Bahamut being as large as he is also because of older FF games. Like people were requesting like a larger summon for so long. Like I think mid battle, like pet switching would be pretty neat, but
Mm-hmm.
I like they'd probably have to do something about how you do pets right now because it's like you're only gonna want to do it when you have Swift cast up, right? Because it's like an 8-second summon
Mm-hmm.
or 6-second, whatever it is. And it's also like a shit ton of mana to resummon, which is actually that's one of the things that bothers me about new summoner is that when you use Aetherflow now, because it gives you back less mana, you don't have enough like mana to instantly resummon your summon, which that kind of bothers me. But
Yeah, it'll be all right. How about we change this? We'll just make it to where all the summons that you do as a summoner, they come and they stay for a minute, then they're gone. Yeah, why not? Or they do a couple attacks and then they're gone immediately. All right.
well, that's kind of like how Bahamut works. You can make him Akmorn twice, and you can make him do a little pelvic thrusting motion a few times, and then he just kind of fucks off.
Yeah, that's okay. He does a very good thrust. I've seen it. Okay, but let's talk about it real quick. If you guys, because Ifrit and Garuda are the two choices right now, when do you decide when to use Garuda, or when do you decide when to use Ifrit? Is that a matter of opinion, or is that something that there's pretty distinct choices?
Well, like Garuda is more work than Ifrit, but I think right now people are saying she does less damage. I don't really have many good numbers for that. Like I don't speedrun or anything. I don't have like a super big list of kills to pull numbers from. I think Irene did like O1S and O2S and O3S with Ifrit. Yes, no?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it appears that Garuda is extremely weak right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you
and that,
micromanage your Ifrit, right?
yeah, I mean, regardless of how you play it, it's just a lot weaker in a sense that even if Ifrit is currently doing okay, as a summoner with Ifrit, you're probably going to do more DPS, personal DPS, than if you would use Garuda, and that is with Garuda buffing yourself with contagion.
Mhm.
So it's pretty grim right now for Garuda if it's in a single caster lineup. I would think the both of them would be a bit more equalized if you run double caster, mainly because your contagion will be more effective, and Radiant Shield is also less effective when you run double casters. So one thing that people have to note is that for Radiant Shield, is that it reflects based off the potency, auto attack potency of the target in your group. So if your group has 5 physical DPS, then it's gonna do a lot more reflect damage than if you have 5 casters. Yeah.
Okay. It makes sense to me, man.
Well, it also does more like your machinist turret, scholar fairies, like they can also, and Ifrit himself, they all get affected by Radiant Shield. So if it's like a raid-wide AoE that also affects like pets and turrets, then you're getting more DPS out of that. Like I noticed on O1S, and warriors also seem to do way more damage as well than like say a paladin with the Radiant Shield reflect damage.
Okay. Is there a reason
Berserk?
for that? It's Berserk?
Like,
yeah.
if it's up during fight or flight, paladins will do some extra, but also paladins' DPS stance doesn't boost their damage, right? It just gives them extra autos.
Right.
But deliverance actually boosts their damage. They have their main buff, so they have like all these stacking buffs, and that all affects the reflect damage on Radiant Shield.
And then hot shot too, I think, from machinists.
Okay. So you guys are pretty much saying just use Ifrit for everything.
Yeah, if you have double caster, you should definitely look into Garuda.
Okay.
Yeah, if not, you should be using Ifrit, which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah,
in my
it's
opinion,
weird
because
because like he's the physical pet.
It's a nice change.
It was Garuda for a long time. I mean, that's kind of boring, right?
As in my
If
main
it
issue
did
with
more
it is that
DPS than her, though.
you get to use a pet that is much simpler to use and is higher DPS. So it just completely obsoletes Garuda because it's harder to play and it does lesser damage. So why would you ever bring Garuda?
Mm-hmm.
If it was the other way around where Garuda does more, but you have to micromanage it to a really high level, then it makes more sense because you get rewarded for playing well. But as it is now, is that they're telling you that you should just stick with the easy pet and be done with it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So one last thing here. We already did the sick or obey thing, and that's where Irene called out Koda for being lazy.
Look, man. Yo, my Garuda macro was contagion 15 times, and eventually she would use it. It was great.
Oh my god. What other notes here? And there's a ton of notes that I have here from Irene.
I didn't see what Irene put.
You didn't see what Irene put?
No, hold on. Let me go.
No, I didn't share it.
You only shared it with me. I have like a couple
Lucky.
pages
I got
here.
shared it.
Oh.
So I started skimming it, and then it was like paragraphs of Irene's thoughts, right? So
Yeah.
I stopped reading it because I thought like maybe it's a bad thing to read his thoughts before doing this, and then kind of have that as the first thing on my mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So
that
Irene,
you won't be biased. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the bias thing. I didn't want to like have this preconceived. Oh, this is a good answer to this
Okay,
thing.
Lackey is just trying to like, he's lazy, but he doesn't want it to make it sound like he's lazy.
I'm also very lazy.
See, there you go.
Fair enough. Irene, with all your notes and everything else, is there something else that you wanted to cover with Paladin? Or not?
Paladin.
With Summoner? Sorry.
okay,
I saw
you can,
Paladin in chat, and like I
Oh.
read it
You
immediately.
can sing
Sorry.
Contagion with Paladin's Holy Spirit.
It's true. Anything with Summoner that you'd like to throw out there real quick?
I mean, I think the point that I want to make for Summoner really is that it has a high skill floor, but once you get past that initial hump, it's actually a lot easier than a lot of other classes. So the skill ceiling for Summoner is actually really low, I feel, in some ways, because you just need to do the same rotation for every single fight and you just get really high numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So what you just need to do in general is to find a rotation that suits you and is optimal and just practice on a dummy for like 30 hours or 20 hours, and then once you get the hang of it, you just go to the fight, you just do the same thing. The thing is that mechanics don't really affect summoners because you have ruin tools, you have a ton of instant cast skills, and yeah, you do fine as a summoner, and you will not find it that clunky if you know exactly what the skills are doing and the rationale behind doing it.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really, it's like summoner is more about learning about the class first. So it's not like monk or dragoon where you can just say, hey, let's learn the opener. Just learn eight skills, 8 buttons, and then you go into the fight and you learn as you do the fight.
Hmm.
But it's more of, you have to read up on it. It's like a language, you can say. You have to like learn the grammar structure, the vocabulary and stuff like that before it makes sense.
Hmm.
But once it makes sense, then it's not that hard. Yeah.
So
But it's just that most people can't afford this time to learn the class.
should you guys like make a
Which
test
is
or something?
understandable.
And like you they have to pass the Irene or Koda test before they become and play summoner.
Read Irene's 32-page guide or something.
Yeah.
But-
And then spend 7 hours with him talking about Summoner.
yeah,
Yeah.
he gives
I actually
private
did that.
lessons on Tonberry.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, he
nice.
did a one-on-one.
I didn't know Tonberry was like that. New Balmung. All right. All right. So let's move a little bit into I think Lackey's territory here.
Red
Lackey,
Mage?
Bullying?
yeah, Red Mage bully, being a real piece of poo. No, Lackey. I want to ask you a little bit here about Black Mage because Black Mage is, you'd say, is pretty close to your heart, right?
Yeah, it's my favorite job by far.
Okay. Just like Yoshida's, right? Do you feel, while playing Black Mage in this game, that Black Mage is Yoshida's favorite character? Or job?
If that means making sure it's not buffed enough to be relevant, then yes.
Making sure he keeps it hip, right? Just like Paladin was over in Heavensward. It's a Paladin show now, guys. Shouldn't have brought it up. Okay, so Lackey, tell me real quick how you said a little bit kind of how they're doing in Stormblood. Would you recommend if someone's like, hey, I want to play a caster? Would you say, hey, play Black Mage?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Unless they if they enjoy something really brain dead and want to not have fun playing their job, Red Mage is really good.
Okay.
Wow. The shots on it.
Damn. Yeah. Ugh. Poor Red Mage.
Maybe not brain dead, but I couldn't see myself playing only Red Mage for the next 3 to 6 months, however long it is till the next content.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to be 3 to 6 months. The next content's in. Well,
yeah,
it is
Super
3 to 6 months. Well, I mean, unless you count Super Savage, but I mean, it would be 4 months, I would say. In about a month, I would say Super Savage is out.
So, our second kill of 04S, I got the Red Mage weapon, I switched to Red Mage, and I've been Red Mage for the next 3-4 weeks of kills and fun days until the Black Mage weapon dropped. And it was a lot of fun for that. I just think long term, I couldn't see myself playing the job that much.
If you had to, let's just do this real quick. Rank difficulty wise, we're going Red Mage is the easiest, Black Mage is second, and Summoner's the hardest? Between the
I
jobs?
think Summoner and Black Mage difficulty is kind of different. Black Mage rotation is really easy. You could do it on a dummy, in your sleep. But putting that to the fight and adjusting timings, because Black Mage has a lot of procs, right? And the procs take less than their base cast, so you're not always at the exact same place in every fight at the same point. I got a lot of procs, so I'm actually behind where I normally would be, and I need to adjust to whatever the mechanic is now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think actually performing well on Black Mage in fights is difficult. My only experience with Summoner and Stormblood is the 2 primals early on in release. So, but from what Irene was saying, it sounds like, you spend a lot of time learning the rotation, knowing how things should work, and then the fights don't really force you to deviate from that much. So it's different kind of difficulty.
Okay, I gotcha. Black Mages, you have to learn to fight a little bit more than you would if you were a Summoner. But Summoner takes a little bit more to learn the job itself before going into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So, Lackey, now that we've had that discussion, tell me things that make you cry at night when you think about Black Mage.
People opening fights with a swift casted spell.
Okay. All right.
That is actually probably one of my biggest like annoyances.
Why is that one of your biggest annoyances?
So, in almost every case, you don't want to start a fight. If you're in a full pre-made, or if the tank has a countdown and people obey the countdown, as a caster, you pre-cast your first spell, right? Like, oh, the timer's hit 4. I'm going to start casting my 3.5 second spell, and when it hits 0, the spell's going to hit, and I'm going to immediately start my second spell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you start with a swift casted spell, you can't cast that at 3 seconds because then you pull early. So you cast it at like 1 or 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because it's Final Fantasy, that means you cast a spell, you're waiting for the recast, and your second spell is now starting 2.5 seconds in. So you're a full GCD behind, and all you gained was you got to put swift cast on cooldown.
Okay, have you seen this a lot? Because I don't think I've heard of this before.
Yes, people on Reddit will highly recommend it, and then you'll explain to them why it's bad, and they'll say, no, the first spell is instant, how am I a GCD behind? In O1S specifically, people have gotten really good results using triple cast and swift cast pre-pull, because if you do it 10 seconds before the pull, it lines up with the floor is ice, you have to slide out, slide in, all that stuff. But you can do an opener that doesn't use them, and you're actually ahead by holding on to it, the triple cast, for 50 seconds, which sounds weird. Like, in Final Fantasy terms, if you're holding on to an off GCD for a long time, that's usually bad. More uses of it is better.
Mm-hmm.
But triple cast doesn't increase your damage, it just makes the spells instant. So it's not actually giving you more DPS doing it, it's just putting you behind, but you feel good about it.
It does give you a bit of a DPS increase.
Yeah, for Fire Force.
Fire 4, yeah.
Okay. That makes sense then. So, all right, that's actually a pretty interesting one. I haven't heard that one yet. Now, let's say when you wake up in a cold sweat, what did you wake up in a cold sweat over? Thinking about Black Mage, Lackey.
Oh, that one.
That one? Well, let's do another one, right?
That's just my answer.
You haven't. So that's 100%. That's it. Like.
Other things.
Yeah.
Not casting Blizzard 4 during the 3.0 rotation.
That's also kind of bad.
It's not as bad.
So, on paper, in Stormblood, Blizzard 4 gives you 3 Umbral Hearts, and your rotation becomes 6 Fire 4s instead of 4, right? So that's nice. That's a DPS increase. Really good. Because of the MP changes they did, if you have full MP, you can actually do 5 Fire 4s without using the Blizzard 4, and on paper, this is a DPS gain. What's funny is, before the Omega patch, you couldn't do 5, so it was 4 Fire 4s versus 6, and it was actually a DPS loss, but if you did the math correctly, you could fudge it and make it look like it was a DPS gain. And I don't know how it happened, but some people spread this, and you'll see on Reddit or on official forums, people like, oh, why are you casting Blizzard 4? That's a DPS loss. You should cast it as little as possible. But the circumstances to not cast it and to make things still line up well is really, really difficult. And if you're not an amazing Black Mage, I don't know why you would put the mental effort in. It's like having Ifrit on Obey instead of Sick.
Wow.
I think that's fair. Like, you might get a marginal DPS increase, but you're putting in a ton more mental effort when you could instead just focus on the fight.
Right.
And if you're not amazing, you're probably going to do worse by trying to do this fancy thing.
Okay. Lackey, how often do you go on Reddit and discuss Black Mage with other players?
Kind of often. Like, I'll browse new, and if I see something Black Mage related or something interesting, I'll open it up and hope that it's not like awful advice.
Are you like going out there looking for bad advice to try to save people?
I sometimes reply to advice type things. I usually reply to things that are misinformation, because misinformation is also one of those, like, I've woken up in a cold sweat thing.
Okay, good. You were saying something there, Kota, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, like, when I'm at work, he's totally messaging me shitty Reddit threads all the time.
Oh,
I have to
really?
spread the joy.
Oh, the joy, is that what you call this?
Yes.
Koda's just sitting there working, and all of a sudden, ding, and you're just like, oh, all right, look who's an idiot today.
Yep.
Okay, nice. Okay, so going into Black Mage, Irene actually has lots of thoughts here as well. So if you had to say how to maximize your ABC, which is actually a list point here from Irene, and talking about mobility, instant, and defensive skills, what are the ways to go about doing that? And Irene, I don't know if you want to do it, since you kind of wrote this down, and then have Lackey kind of chime in.
Okay, I mean, I do play Black Mage, but just not as much.
Oh, you're not Lackey, though.
Quickly clears.
You're not Lackey, though. It's okay.
Never
Alright.
Lackey.
Yeah, as in, so basically, the skill ceiling for Black Mage is really about trying to get off as many casts as you can, because your rotation itself is really simple, like what
Mhm.
Lackey mentioned. So you do have to identify what are the tools that you have to manage this. So you can kind of like split it into mobility, instant, and defensive skills. So in terms of what kind of instant cast skills can you have? So you have triple cast, you have swift cast, and you have sharp cast to get yourself a guaranteed proc. And of course, you also have your own T3 procs and stuff like that. So you have to kind of like, it's like solving a puzzle in a sense. So you have to fight down, and then you start to figure out which are the portions of where I have to like handle mechanics. Like in O1S, there's the sliding for the eye. So you want to have like, let's say a triple caster or a swift caster. So what can you do with your instant cast skills to ensure that you are doing something? Because in most cases, you would rather cast a skill and lose a use of your instant cast, like what he mentioned about delaying your triple cast by 50 seconds. So on paper, it sounds bad, but it's actually a gain because you are not losing cast during the ice phase. And losing cast for Black Mages is more or less the main reason or the main difference between a good Black Mage and a bad Black Mage, because there isn't really anything much to do rotation wise. It's not like a summoner where you have to sync up your dots with Tri-Disaster, with Dreadman Trance and stuff like that. So it's just, I think Black Cat has a guide. Yes, always has this guide, and you only has one word on it, Firefall. So that is really Black Mage. You just spam Firefall and spam Fouls now. And of course T3 procs. But in general, that's how Black Mage is. Yeah. So in terms of mobility skills wise, you have like Ethereal Manipulation, Ley Lines, Sprint. So people tend to not use these skills really well, in the sense that you can slide cast out of, get out of AoEs using Manip, Ley Lines. Like in O4S, if you want to be fanciful, what you could do is that for Delta attack, when there is a AoE that appears around you and you have Ley Lines up, what you can do is that you can dodge the AoE and just immediately just use beyond the lines to go back to your Ley Lines. So as long as your latency is not that good, what happens is that the server will register your position outside of your Ley Lines first. And then when you're mid animation going back to your Ley Lines, like teleporting back, the AoE will be placed outside of it. So it's like things like this that kind of like make you a better Black Mage player.
Okay.
Yeah. And then defensive wise, it's more about mana ward for convert, and in some cases you can cheese skills, like you can just tank the mechanic if you have mana ward on. I've not really found a use for this yet. Maybe like you can enlighten us.
I don't know that there's really anything this tier for that.
No, right? Yeah.
It's like you do it if the damage is low enough that you won't get interrupted. Or you used to use Surecast, right? So I guess you're going to cross-class Surecast for that. But if eating the AoE gives you this like 90% damage down, or is likely to one-shot you, or is going to cost a bunch of healer GCDs to make up for, then probably not worth it.
Yeah, it's mainly used for convert, really. And convert is pretty cancerous, I would say. My experience with it is that because I was doing all my alt, and my alt isn't very geared. So the thing with it is that if you do not have like 36k HP in O4S, and you use convert for the delta attack at the start, there is a chance that the fire tree variants will kill you, even if you have mana ward on. It happens like maybe 5% of the time, but it's just really frustrating. So as in the idea behind it is that you want to use mana ward so that it gives you enough HP to tank the fire tree, even though convert reduces your HP. But the thing is that if your max HP is too low, then there's a chance that the fire tree variance damage can be high enough to kill you, even with mana ward on. Yeah. So,
Irene,
and I believe.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second here.
Sure.
Sorry. I'm noticing this. Do you just know a lot of stuff? Because I feel like you're one of those people who just knows a lot of stuff about like everything.
I guess I'm kind of interested in theory crafting and stuff. So yeah, I tend to research a lot more on classes.
When I was doing this show and I was trying to find people to get on this show, and you found out within 24 hours, right? I was thinking, oh, I need to find some people to get on the show, maybe some new faces and everything else. And I was told by both Lackey and Koda here, and other people from other groups like Angered, they told me to get Eirene Snow. Why do you have this kind of allure to be on a MogTalk? Was it just people think that you just know a lot of stuff? Because that's what I was getting down to, really.
I am not sure actually. I don't really interact with any of the Angered members.
Do you not?
So no, yeah. So I'm not sure where this.
It was all a big plot to hear your voice.
Was that?
Oh yeah. That as well, because people thought that I was a girl in a sense. Yeah.
Really?
And it's also the way that I type. Yeah, in chat.
Are you very, very friendly?
Yeah.
Do you wink a lot? Do you have a lot of emoticons? I mean, like, I'm trying to think of how that would translate.
In a sense, when I type stuff, I tend to be a bit more passive, so I'm not that aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah, so that kind of like brings about that image together with my name and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess people are disappointed though. I was considering getting someone to dub for me.
Someone come in and just talk for you, just like type everything out, and they're the ones talking.
Yeah.
Why is Irene taking so long to reply?
Man, that's amazing. He'll just say, "Hold on, I have to think," and just sit there quiet for like a minute, and he's like, "Okay, I got it." All right. Well, that was interesting. I'm sorry, I just brought that up because every time, like, I feel like I can say something, and you always have something to add to it, and I thought that was pretty neat. Good job on you, Irene.
Thanks.
All right. So the other part here, let's see, Black Mage. You actually don't have too much on Black Mage here. Do we feel like Black Mage is easier to get into than it was in Heavensward, Lackey?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I didn't have an issue with Black Mage in Heavensward, and the big complaints about it were patched pretty quickly into Gordius. Like, you need to wait for Enochian to fully drop off. There was other stuff I don't remember. Oh, Thunder was literally not worth casting because the proc chance and proc damage was so low. So they fixed those before Gordius ended, I'm pretty sure. And like, I think Black Mage in 3.0 played fine. I know a lot of complaints about it. It might just be because like it's the job I play primarily, so I put a lot of time into learning fights for the job or learning the job really well. But I feel like Black Mage 4.0 is at least as easy. It's probably easier because as long as you don't lose stacks, you don't lose Enochian, so you can always do your normal rotation. And like, it has the same problems where if you're not good at maximizing uptime, if you run around too much to try and do mechanics, your DPS will be bad, but that has always been the case. So
okay. The other interesting note here, and I think we've already mentioned this when we talked about best in slot and stat weights and everything else, is that spell speed isn't the main stat anymore, because you guys said everything pretty much is balanced out now with it, right? And it's just really whatever your style is. But some people are still stuck in that mindset that they need as much spell speed as possible.
Spell speed helps make the rotation feel better, and depending on your ping, it also helps. Like so I said I have 40 milliseconds average, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did some testing of like, at my ping, what kind of like stuff can I get away with? And someone else did the same test at, I want to say like 80-ish, and they basically needed about 100 more spell speed to get away with the same stuff. So at higher ping, higher spell speed will make the rotation more friendly, make doing fights a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
So like going incredibly high spell speed is not a bad thing. Going spell speed to whatever your personal preference after playing Black Mage is not a bad thing either.
Okay. All right. I think that kind of hits a lot of these points that I have here for Black Mage. Is there anything else, Lackey, that you're like, man, I can't believe you didn't bring this up, Frosty? What are you doing?
Is there regarding?
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Regarding Irene's thing about like, you have all these movement cooldowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a Black Mage thing that I've seen a lot is, well, I've seen people ask questions about it, is they hold on to cooldowns too much. Like, triple cast is really good for movement, but it also lets you get away with stuff in your normal rotation. And I personally use it on cooldown unless I know there's a good reason to hold on to it. Like, basically, a lot of your cooldowns are 60 seconds, which is super short, so you should use them rotationally, just on cooldown where it makes sense, until you've done the fight and you realize, actually holding this like 20 seconds would have been better for this point.
Okay.
Like, don't be afraid to actually use them, basically.
And you have to remember that triple cast is it's a minor DPS increase. If you use it on Fire Force. Yeah.
I'd say it's bigger than minor though. Like
it's big. Yeah.
So the thing that triple cast allows, which I really like, is it has a 60-second cooldown, right? And Sharpcast has a 60-second cooldown, which means a lot of times you can use Sharpcast on Thunder 3, and if you do that and you don't have ley lines, you'll have to use the proc before your Fire 1 next rotation, which means you'll still get 6 Fire 4s, but if you get a second Thunder proc, you can't use it without dropping a Fire 4 or switching it to a Fire 1, which is still like the correct choice to do, right? But is bad. The ideal thing would be you use the proc and you still get 6 Fire 4s, and you could still use a second proc. And triple cast in the first half of your rotation allows you to do that. So like that, I think, is a lot bigger increase than just the on paper, it makes Fire 4 faster.
Okay. There you go. So fuck you, Irene. You don't know.
See, Lackey's a bully.
The bully.
No,
man.
bully. I'm just saying it works really well. It makes Black Mage feel amazing. You have this job gauge, and you ignore it because you know I'm going to get away with this anyway.
Okay. All right, so we're hitting this point to where we're getting a lot closer to 2 hours, but we still got Red Mage, and we still got viewer questions, and we still have some miscellaneous stuff. Are you guys still feeling okay? Irene, how are you feeling, dude?
Okay. It's fine.
Is the sun out yet?
Wait, what time is it there?
Soon. 6:40 a.m.
Oh.
Oh, poor guy. Okay. All right. Let's jump into Red Mage here a little bit. I feel like we definitely should be touching up on that. And our resident Red Mage is Irene, right? That's the Red Mage person, the one that wasn't stubborn and stayed with their job.
For progression, yes, I guess.
Okay, just for progression.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for weekly clears as well. Yeah.
Okay. So with Red Mage, I kind of want to ask this general question. I guess everybody can kind of answer this too. And we hit it a little bit, but with Red Mage, do we feel like this was, holy crap, they made a really good addition to casters here in Stormblood? Or were you like, Well, they could have done a little bit better. They could have made this job a little bit more interesting for us casters. What do you guys think?
It is a bit too simple, I feel. Especially the OGCDs. It just doesn't make sense. It feels like a lazy effort by SE because it doesn't make sense to just like have two OGCDs, one single target, one AoE, and both of them deal a ton of potency. I mean, there should be some kind of interaction between the OGCDs and your rotation. Maybe it could like give you MP or something like that, as in mana for your job gauge. Because as it is now, as in you're just pressing it on cooldown, as in just the whole class just revolves around pressing buttons to get mana and then using your OGCDs on cooldown and then just getting to the melee combo and just using it. So I mean, it is good that it's simple, and I really like the flow of how the job works. It's just so smooth compared to Summoner, and even Black Mage to some extent as well. But yeah, it's too simple, and being too simple may not be a good thing as well because everyone is going to do the same thing. So how are you going to differentiate yourself between a good Red Mage player and a bad Red Mage player? Then it all comes down to your fundamentals, which is basically your ABCs. How much are you using your OGCDs on cooldown? Are you fitting skills inside your red buffs? And this is actually bad for the casual side of players because these are stuff that you cannot really work on. It's not something that you can just read a guide and say, hey, I'm going to be the perfect player in terms of doing my ABCs. It comes with experience and having that mentality to really try out stuff and be greedy in mechanics as well. I mean, if you have read Momo-kun's guide, it does apply somewhat to casters as well, in that you do have to get greedy sometimes to test out if you can get a cast off before dodging a mechanic and stuff like that. So in that sense, yeah, Red Mage is too simple.
Okay. So we're a little bit unimpressed by it, Red Mage in general, but it's okay. It's still there. It does fine. It just boring.
It is good for progression though. I mean, okay, even if you remove the fact that race is broken, Red Mage is the only caster class that do not really lose anything from using Mana Shift and Edo Epoch because they have a lot of instant cast skills. So even for Black Mages, you tend to like have to clip to use these kind of utility skills. And the thing about Red Mage is that being simple to play and having really high mobility allows you to have a lot more capacity to really look at a fight. So because your rotation is so simple that you don't really need to look at it. You know, there's no need to manage your procs, manage your gauge, or manage your dots and stuff like a summoner. So you can just spend your time looking at mechanics and like just being raid aware in general to help your team out. So it is something that you have to consider as well.
Okay.
In terms of progression, because everyone only has a limited amount of mental capacity. So it's just whether do you want to tunnel more into DPS or do you want to have that spare cap to look at things.
Okay. So it's maybe a good starter job for people getting the casters?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really newbie friendly job for sure.
Okay. All right. So let's also hit this a little bit. I feel like we need to. Is displacement. Displacement is not a newbie friendly skill. Right?
It's the new meme. It's the new repelling shot.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad, and I feel like it's
worse than repelling shot actually.
It's 15 yalms instead of
10, if I'm not wrong. And I have absolutely no idea why is it 15. It makes no sense. Is
style.
It just, yeah, it's really just for style.
So, have you ran into any situations where you fucked up pretty bad with it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even in my first O3 SQ, I'm pretty sure I displaced into one of the, in the book phase you have to get into those the green and blue squares, right? So prior to that mechanic happening, I displaced at an angle and I flew into the one at the edge. But somehow we managed to do the mechanic even without that one square. So it was kind of lucky in a sense. But But yeah, it doesn't make sense because displacement is so weird. It's that 15 yards is incredibly long. It's like in O1S,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not standing inside the boss hitbox, you're going to displace out. So if you're just standing at like max melee range or like just around the perimeter of the boss and you click displacement, you're just going to fly out of the platform, which is just
Oh, really?
kind of, yeah, it's kind of stupid design in a sense. Like that shouldn't happen, it shouldn't be something that you have to take note of, that I have to be inside the boss just to use a backflip out. And there's really no reason as in why it has to be 15. It's not like you gain like an potency if you are a certain distance away from the boss or stuff like that. So it's just
That
really
would be
strange
kind of
design.
cool.
Well, yeah, but then it'll be anti-stack mechanic, so for oink and everything else.
Red Mage already
You'll be
is.
crying.
It's a nice earthly star displacement.
Oh yeah, that is what that is. It's so irritating. It's like I kind of feel like they kind of made the boss mechanic such that you always have displacement up at the worst possible times. So I'm pretty sure you guys have probably seen the video before, but so displacement usually comes up exactly when double attack is happening. And if you're in O4S, so if your tanks are tanking in the middle, there's a high chance that you can click displacement just as the boss jumps to the middle for the tank buster. And what happens is that you backflip out because the boss is in the middle instead of at the side. And it's hilarious to see, but it's pretty irritating in a sense.
So I mean, like, I'm trying to think of why they would make it 15 yoms as well, and just like what was going through the developer's mind. Because I want to justify it, right? I want it to be justified somehow. There has to be a reason why they were like, hey, this should be 15 yoms, and it just needs to be. Is there lore? Is there like?
It's for style,
Style.
I mean, it's for that video that they made, the introductory video where they did a backflip into the finisher. It looks so cool when it's
elusive jump is also 15, so it's not like it's a new thing for a jump to be that big.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And it can be useful. Like O3S, 15 is enough to leap out of the fire 3 thing for tethers, right?
Yeah, but usually don't have that up there.
Really?
I mean, to be
I feel
honest,
like I do.
You can just use Swiftcast to get it off.
It's true.
And it's a lot more irritating as well. Yeah. I mean, if you are trying to use it on cooldown and be efficient, right? Your next displacement will happen during the game. After you stack for oink, and then you have to like stay in the square for the mechanic, right? So what you can do is that you can try and YOLO. So right as the oink animation finish, you displace out, you get one cast in, and you try and run back into the DPS square. And if you do it wrongly, then you just die.
No.
But I mean, these are the kind of things that make you wonder, why is there a need for displacement to be 15? Especially as a skill that is used as a DPS, because it does 130 potency, and it happens pretty frequently, every 40 seconds, and then with modification you have it again. So in a fight you probably use it like 10 times, if not more. So it kinds of become like, the ski ceiling of Red Mage is to use displacement on cooldown without dying.
Figure out how to jump into the right positioning game.
Yeah, it's not really. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. So the other thing that doesn't make sense is that dual casting Varese, right?
Yeah, I think that the easiest way to balance Red Mage right now is to just remove the ability for Red Mages to use dual cast with Varese.
Do you think
If
it's
you
like
do that,
that's really that huge of a thing though? I mean,
it's crazy. I mean,
you can res up to 4 times, probably more, before you have any personal, like, I can't do my rotation anymore issues.
I mean, to be honest, I've res enough times, even in my clear videos too. So whatever, you just keep resing, and then you will be left with like 500 MP, and then you just sit there and use your unenchanted melee combo. I think I did that for my O4S clear as well. But the thing is that it doesn't really matter in the end, because it's crazy the amount of rest that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that you can rest so quickly. It's on demand, you know.
Right. And so in a group, no matter what, if you have a red mage, they should be the first person to res.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Every single
I
time.
just feel that there's no reason why a healer should be doing it.
Okay.
In all honesty, because they could use their swift cast for something a lot more useful,
Mm-hmm.
like just topping up the guy that is being raised and stuff like that.
Unless Lackey's in your group, right?
I get a lot of reses, but because I was playing Black Mage for a long time,
Oh, so they're
healers,
used to rezzing? But
yeah, they're used to rezzing, and then I'm like, I got this, and they already have Swift up, so maybe they go through with the res anyway because I say too late, or generally I get reses. I delay it if I'm in the middle or starting a melee combo because I'm gonna finish the melee combo first.
Mhm.
Okay. Koda, tell me your experience with red mage and what you know here in this situation.
Experience with red mage. I leveled it and it felt pretty neat. And then when it came time to prog, I just played summoner.
Okay.
So when you guys say like you think like the easiest way to balance it would just be to like remove dual cast on raising, would you still want to take a red mage for prog even if they couldn't do that?
I think Red Mage could do with more damage if you can just res everyone. Like, if you could res everyone, and the job is very simple, and it does as much damage, raid utility included, as Black Mage or Summoner, then there's literally no reason to pick the other two, right? But if you can't raise everyone, like balancing based on utility, weird utility, like being able to swift raise is probably weird and awkward and bad, but I think for sure the job that can res everyone and loses very little from mechanics, like is very mobile, shouldn't do a whole ton of damage, so it would
That is
make
one
sense
point
if
to
the
note
res
as
is
well,
limited.
that because Red Mage is it's a pretty simple job to play, right? So in progression, without any much thought or optimization, you're actually doing quite a substantial amount of DPS. So it is a point to note as well, because in progression, usually you're not focused on optimizing your rotation. You're more focused on actually learning and doing the mechanics. So Red Mages, in this sense, they may appear to be stronger just because they're easier to play. And then, so yeah, you kind of
less
hit like
learning,
higher
and you're
numbers.
already like 90% of your potential or whatever.
Yeah.
So, what's that ability that pisses me off when red mages use it immediately at the beginning of the fight? What is that? That enmity thing.
And
It's high damage, like OGCD.
The white
Oh,
sword
yeah.
things.
Fletch.
Oh,
Fletch
the
and
Fletch or whatever?
Contrast 6. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Me
It's
neither.
French, right?
Yeah, how
Both
do you,
of them.
How do you say anything in French?
So, could you guys advise people on how to use that properly?
Just hit diversion.
Just use
Yeah.
diversion, yeah.
Okay.
Use a potion. If you have a ninja, you don't need diversion.
No one has
Or-
ninjas, all right? We don't have ninjas. They don't
We
exist.
have a
They're
ninja.
done, all right? Never had a ninja in my life.
Like, if you use a 30-second potion, you use it in your first off GCD window, so your first attack is only 300 caster potency, and then the tank has like another 2.5 seconds, whatever, to get threat, right? If you don't use a potion, your first off GCD is probably both of those, so it's like 1,000 caster potency, and you need diversion, probably.
I think that
Like early advice on Reddit for Red Mage was don't take diversion, and I thought that was very, very poor advice. Like I remember,
I felt that in groups in pugs. I felt that advice, and I'm pretty upset about it.
yeah, because
Wasn't
they can
there
just
a video
instant
of,
cast.
Yeah, as in, there was a video where the Red Mage took aggro of the Lakshmi ad and just
Oh.
spaced out
Yeah.
of the mat immediately. That's pretty hilarious.
Oh Jesus!
Oh, but there is a point to note though. The thing is that if you are like what Lackey mentioned, that if you're going to use potion and you end up being fine on aggro, it's good to not take diversion, because if you free up that slot, you can take APOC instead. Yeah, which is a lot more useful.
Yeah, if it's used. Sure.
Yeah, if it's used. Yeah.
Okay. So the other note you had in here about red mages that you figured would be pretty good to talk about is how Embolden seems kind of awkward. I'm not familiar enough to know why. Could you explain that to me a little bit?
So the problem with Embolden is that it doesn't sync up with the rate buffs of your. Okay, it's not that it doesn't sync up, but in that if you want to use it optimally for on an individual level, you want to use it like right before your melee combo or after the first hit of your melee combo. And the problem with that is that this usually happens around like 17 to 20 seconds into the fight, and most of the other classes in this game uses their rate buffs a lot earlier, at like 5 to 10 seconds. So if you're going to use it selfishly, then it's kind of bad for the rate DPS, because in general it's just the same concept as single target balance versus AoE balance. So no matter how much more optimal it is to use the single target balance, in general the AoE balance is always going to out benefit it, just purely because of there being more members that are taking advantage of the Embolden. So the main issue I have with this is not really about the opener, in the sense that it's fine the opener if you want to just use a rate optimized opener, as in use Embolden at 10 seconds. You don't really lose much as a rate mage. But the problem with Embolden is that what do you do after the first Embolden usage? So it's a 2-minute cooldown, but the thing is that your melee combos in general takes about 40 seconds to generate enough MP to get to the next melee combo, in a sense. So the problem here is that it doesn't sync up with 2 minutes, or it doesn't sync up very well with trick attack and other rate buffs. So you get into this really awkward spot where sometimes you have to decide between, should I use Embolden for my own benefit for my melee combo at a 2-minute portion, or should I save it to use your trick attack? But the thing is that you can't tell your ninja, right, that, you know what, you only go to trick attack when I get my melee combo. But my melee combo might take 2 minutes, or it might take 2 minutes 10 seconds, or it might take 2 minutes 20 seconds. It just doesn't work out that way, because it's a bit of RNG in terms of your procs. So what I did personally was to just sacrifice any type of like individual DPS, in the sense that I'm only going to use Embolden when the ninja uses trick attack. So right before the ninja says he's going to use trick attack, I'll use Embolden first, so that his TA gets buffed by it. But what this does is that there'll be times where you'll be at like 20 MP when you use Embolden, and then you're just doing nothing. As in, it just doesn't benefit you at all. Which is why it's also a reason why rate mages are pretty awkward in speedruns, because it's a lot more difficult to sync up Embolden timings. And in parks, you realize that people just use Embolden whenever they want to. I mean, if you can't coordinate anything, then what's the point, right? You must just use it for yourself. Yeah.
Right. Well, you can't balance things around pugs, though, right, man?
You can't. But the thing is that even in the speedrun setting, you can't really play around with Embolden. It's theoretically you can use Manification to force yourself, or have a very high possibility of you getting a melee combo during Embolden, but I kind of feel that that's not really the right way to do it, because depending on the fight length, you could just lose the entire melee combo. So I mean, that is one part of rate mage that is probably not really talked about, is that I think till now no one has really come up with a methodology of quantifying how much value does MP gives you, because it's only with that can you really decide as to whether should you use Manification to sync up with Embolden. Should you use it when you have 50-50 MP? Should you use it when you have 40-40 MP? Because it kind of like affects the efficiency of MP for that. I don't think anyone has done that, right?
I've seen math for, so I don't know how the math was done for it, but I've seen math for your mana gauge, right? Is worth this much potency each. So if you lose this much, it's like this much potency per second, or I don't know if it's potency per second or total potency lost.
But
the answer I've seen for Manification is generally just any time between 40 and 60, and if it's later than 60, it comes out again to delay and then get it on the next go around. But I don't know about like using Manification before 40 to try and get your melee window for trick attack.
it's not just that as well. It's also about your crops and displacement. So in O4S I actually have this issue where I have my crops and displacement. Okay, let's say about displacement is at like 5 to 10 seconds cooldown. So then you get into this awkward spot where if I use modification, I'm going to lose one cast of displacement. So should I delay modification so that I get the displacement off first before resetting? Because that is 130 potency gain.
Yeah, so then you use that number I can't give you because I don't care enough about Red Mage to remember these things. But there are like docs people have done about it, and I've looked into it slightly. The most I've done for Red Mage optimization is like trick attack, lining up Embolden with trick attack, unless the trick attack seemed delayed to me and my melee combo is coming up, and then I'll just silently hit Embolden anyway.
Wow.
Koda, what's your thoughts?
On
Embolden and the
So
number.
Frosty, pop quiz for you. What does Embolden do?
I have no fucking clue, man.
So I wasn't like trying to make fun of you.
No, I got you.
Recently, I've talked to people who still think that Embolden is a 20% magic buff for the red mage. It's actually 10% now.
Mhm.
So I don't even know like why they would hold it to use it selfishly. Like I was watching some stream the other night, and it was an O4S speed kill attempt, and like the red mage kept using it at like 23 seconds, so like right when the ninja's trick attack ends. And even though like they were trying to speed kill, like no one noticed for the longest time, and I thought it was pretty strange. It seems like Golden though, it's like it averages out to be I think 6% damage or so every 2 minutes. Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't seem that big. Like it's probably big in your opener, but maybe over the course of the fight, not so much. And it does seem really awkward because like it has that weird usage to it. So if you did like double caster, then and you had one caster as a red mage, then kind of losing out because it's only like a physical buff for the party.
Right. I mean, there's all these little things that go into play during a raid, and like I know myself, I focus on my own job and everything else, and so I'm not thinking, hey, I'm gonna increase my DPS because I bring a red mage in there. He increases his because it's magical for him, and then physical for the rest of it. And so it's weird because you would bring in Embolden, and this was discussed a little bit before on previous shows, where you could bring red mages into melee comps, right?
Yeah, I think that was a thing. Like triple melee and something else, or double melee, and then bard and red mage, I think.
Mm-hmm. And so I think it was a lot of fun back a few months ago when we were having all these discussions and theory crafting on all this stuff. But all that stuff goes straight out the window as soon as it comes up. But yeah, no, I kind of forgot a little bit about Embolden, but yeah, that was definitely part of the conversation was, hey, why would you need casters anymore if you can just bring red mages here to buff you up? What was it, like a red mage, machinist, I think it was Dragoon and Ninja. I think was one of the theory craft ones, right?
I'm not sure. I didn't pay much attention.
Come on, Koda.
No, like, I'm a casual player. I raid for 2 hours per week.
Okay, Koda, pop quiz.
Oh no.
Pop quiz, Koda. What is Clemency doing?
Heals.
Who does it heal?
Your targeted party member and the paladin.
Okay. You know more than I do on things.
I only know that because I watched the video where Xeno did like the Nidhogg with all paladins and warriors.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. That's cheat. That's a cheat there. Okay. For how much?
Shit, dude.
What's the cooldown on it?
The website.
Lackey. What's the cooldown on you should know this. What's the cooldown on Sheltron?
It's like 5 seconds now? Super short.
Yeah. I would say the correct answer was 50 gauge. 50 gauge.
That's not a cooldown though. That's the requirement.
It's a cooldown, man.
No, the cooldown is you physically can't press
you can't
Sheltron,
cast it again until
right
you
after
get that
itself.
though. So it's a cooldown until you get it.
you're sitting on like 100 gauge all the time, right?
That's true.
Because
Yeah,
it's
really.
only useful for
Hey,
two things.
I throw out my inner something. What's it called? I just know it looks like a bubble. I can't remember. Intervene. Sorry. I throw that out.
Cover number 2.
Cover number 2. I throw it out every single time I get a chance. All right, and it doesn't do anything. I'm like, here you go. Dude, the boss has casted a spell right now. Intervention. Or no, what? Skylar, fuck you. Trying to confuse me already. Okay, we'll get back to this. Let's get back to this here.
I have something about Embolden though.
Oh, do you?
I think people overvalue Embolden's worth. Like, so if you're trying to do speed kill stuff, there's some speed kills with Red Mage in it, and it's like, oh, Red Mage is a caster, but it brings a raid utility buff, so it has to be super powerful. But basically, whenever I look at Embolden's value in groups, at most it's about 275 DPS. Like, not counting the Red Mage, because you know how much DPS the Red Mage did, right? And that's kind of what he brings himself. But 275 raid DPS is not a lot. Like, if you took a Black Mage in that spot, and the Black Mage is decent, their personal DPS will cover that 275 and then some. If you took a Machinist in that spot, they'll do way more than the Red Mage and do a ton more raid DPS, and it's dumb and broken.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Summoner, because recent changes, I'm waiting for Irene to do, like, amazing parses.
Oh, Irene, do you not do amazing parses?
Oh, no, he does, but he hasn't done 04 yet on Summoner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Irene, I need you to clear 04 on Summoner so I can just copy whatever you do.
I have not stepped into New X step on Summoner.
Shit, come on, man.
You can do it, dude. Bring us. I you know what's funny? I was like, Irene, let me check the FF logs, and I just saw straight hundreds and everything. I'm like, alrighty, done. Jesus Christ, dude.
No, there's also that Embolden. Embolden is only a physical buff on the party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Paladins have a ton of damage coming from a non-physical source. So if that lines up with Embolden, then they're gaining no benefit. Like, oh, we did Holy Spirit. It's magical. It's powerful. Embolden doesn't care. It's not helping you.
It's true.
And ninjas have a ton of damage in magic in their mudras. So if they Raiton, if they Baklava. If they do the Fire Frog thing,
delicious.
those are all magic sources. So those aren't buffed by it either.
Okay.
And there's one thing to note as well is that Embolden only gives the Raid Mage the magical buff, and it doesn't give you the physical one. So, because Raid Mage OGCDs are all physical, they're piercing, by the way. So, Embolden doesn't affect any of your OGCDs. This might be something that people might not know, or like they assume that Embolden buffs everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what Embolden only does is it buffs your magical skills, which is basically your normal casting spells and your melee combos. It doesn't do anything for your OGCDs, which is kind of stupid as well. Like, why would you not give the Raid Mage both buffs? It makes no sense to me. Yeah, it's just an oversight, maybe? I don't know.
You know, there's a lot of things in this game that I can attribute to oversights. And I would not put that too forward.
Related?
Well, I can bring it up if you want me to, but I won't. Paladin was fine back in Heavensward, guys. You just didn't know.
Yo, my paladin is like level 27 or something. It's not even a paladin yet.
It's not even a paladin. It's gladiator. Much cooler. It has an icon for 2 swords, right? And so why don't we have a 2-sword job?
Ninja.
Some
of the weapons are swords.
Nice. I guess so. All right, Red Mage. Do we have anything else on Red Mage we feel that we need to make a point of for people to know whether they want to play Red Mage, whether they're really good at Red Mage, or they think they're really good at Red Mage, or it's just something that you have night terrors over?
It's a full job at 50, basically. So, like, it's free to unlock. If you mess around with it, what you get at 50 is pretty close to what you get at 70. So if you like the job then, you'll probably like it at 70. Only issue is leveling it to 70, and leveling in this game is varying amounts of really painful.
Just PvP. Just PvP.
Painful.
It's okay. It's alright. I mean, you just find a whole bunch of bots in a battleground anyways, right?
Red Mage and PvP, Frosty?
It's a joke. Red Mage is a joke in PvP right now. It's a meme. If you see it, then you automatically think the person who's with you don't know what they're doing because they're playing Red Mage.
Okay.
That's where they stand in PvP.
Right, so what do you think when you see summoners and black mages in PvP?
I usually am impressed because I'm like they're taking a pretty good risk here. They got to be really good at what they do. Black Mage can be really scary. Summoner can be super scary if your group doesn't know what you're doing or how to handle it. But yeah, no, most of it's okay. Just Red Mage, it just doesn't really do anything, which is sad, but it's true. It's funny. It's like, I feel like PvP, and I'm sorry we're bringing it into this conversation, but I feel like PvP's always emulated almost the opposite of whatever the PvE meta is. And right now, like, I don't know. The only difference is that Warrior sucks in PvP too. I'm not saying it sucks in PvE, but people don't respect it really in PvE, right? They want to do Dark Knight Paladin.
Because, like, Warriors with Radiant Shield, like, they do more damage than a Dark Knight or a Paladin with Radiant Shield, so I respect Warriors.
Just because of that.
Yo, they give me more DPS.
Yeah. That's true. It's true. They make you look better on FF logs, right?
Yep.
Okay. I gotcha. All right. Lackey. Do you think so? You're done with Red Mage. You don't think there's anything else we need to throw out there with Red Mage? You don't want to put any extra comments in there, besides that they're a little bit boring, right?
I think displacement, distance, and damage is fine.
You think it's all fine?
I think it's fine.
Balanced perfectly.
I have only died to displacement once, and that was within the last week-ish or so.
So when you see someone die to displacement, you think they just suck?
I am wondering how they did that.
Irene.
Like, are you not situationally aware of where you are? But I didn't do Red Mage in Prague, and I imagine Prague is worse for it, so I'm biased. I already knew the fights when I went in on Red Mage, and knew, oh, this arena's pretty small. I'm gonna run into the boss anyway because that's what I do before displacement every time. It looks cooler.
It looks cool.
It makes me have less distance to travel to get back inside the earthly star that I just jumped out of.
Yeah. How many of your decisions are based on if it looks cooler?
Going Black Mage is based on that. Red Mage spells are kind of boring to me.
Really?
Most of them, yeah. I think their coolest spells are Jolt and Impact, and you want to minimize using those. I think the finishers don't feel very good. They don't have any kind of screen shake. They don't have any kind of depth of field thing. They have really bad sound design. Flare is really flat looking. Verflare, rather, right? Whereas everything. Black Mage, Fire 4, Foul, just feel really powerful.
Okay. All right.
It does feel pretty smooth though, Red Mage. I find it animation wise, it's pretty nice to dash in to do the melee combo and flip out. I guess the animation themselves don't really look that spectacular, but it's kind of flows. But then again, I'm someone who plays with skill effects off, so I'm not one to mention about that. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of boring.
I couldn't do that.
I don't look at graphics because it clutters the screen.
It's supposed to, man. You're supposed to be happy with getting eye candy constantly. You just don't enjoy it. You're just I need numbers. I need the high numbers to feel good.
Yeah, it's more for practical reason.
Okay, all right, I gotcha. So let's talk about there's two different types of groups. Since we've hit all the casters, let's talk about this. There's the progression groups, and then there's the speed run optimal groups. right now, casters aren't in the speedrun groups, except for maybe Summoner, right?
People use Red Mage. I don't think it's like the correct choice, but a lot of fast kills have Red Mage.
Hmm.
I think
Okay.
more so than Summoner. Just there aren't a lot of Summoners around.
Yeah, there are only 2 summoners, I think.
Who are the two
Currently.
Summoners?
Me and someone else. I can't remember the guy's name.
Okay. You and some other person that's not that important. Gotcha. Good.
Wow. I didn't mean that.
No. So there's a couple summoners out there. Are there any black mages out there speedrunning?
I think the guy that plays summoner also plays Black Mage.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So in those terms, you would say that casters are still not on the strong side, but they're in the debatable side at least. People can justify it in a way and maybe make it work out. Like, what the top 10 groups? Do you have casters in the top 10 groups?
I actually haven't looked at like speed killing stuff very much at all.
Yes, I guess. Yeah.
I think Irene is number 2 fastest on ONS as a summoner.
Okay. All right. Well, then there you go. They're not that bad. Done. Because he's number 2.
Kill. Yeah, well, the fastest kill is still the Heavensward meta composition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, didn't that come back within the last patch of changes?
I think so. I think it's just because Machinist got buffed again, and supposedly they're changing Machinist again in 4.1, so I don't know, it might be Heavensward all over again, where Bard and Machinist get buffed against each other.
Dark days, man. Winter is coming. So, Jesus Christ, that's going to suck.
There's just too much synergy between Machinist, but yeah.
And that's one of the things that Yoshi said that he was going to try to fix, is that they knew that this was an issue where, like, he doesn't want to kill the synergy, but he doesn't want it to be overpowering. And so it definitely, I hope they don't fall back into that trap just because they don't have good answers to balancing outside of pushing some numbers up and down. But we'll see. All right, so progression-wise, though, would you say Red Mage is the go-to always pick caster if you had a choice between the 3?
Yes.
Yes?
If you're going for world proc, just progression in general, yeah. Objectively, you should pick Red Mage over the other 2.
Okay. Except for if you're
I die too much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So you wouldn't be useful as a Red Mage because you're dead all the time.
Well, we actually tried it in O3S. I went in as Red Mage with the intent of rezzing everyone, but I was the one who always died first, so it was, why not just go on Summoner at that point?
Okay. So where does Black Mage and Red Mage, or not? I'm sorry, Black Mage and Summoner really stand in group comps? Then is it mainly just in they play them because they want to play them? There's no like optimal setup.
I think outside of World Prog, they're fine. Like, if the content is easy enough, you could kill it week 1. Then if you can kill it week 1 with a Summoner or a Black Mage instead, you probably put more time into it, but you did it anyway, that's fine. You killed it week 1, so you're not behind on gear or anything, and that's good enough. If the content is hard enough that it takes multiple weeks, then that gives a lot of time, like on Black Mage, to optimize the fight, so you bring their strength forward, and it'd be fine.
I mean, that's a really, really good point to put out there, too, is that all of the speed killing right now, or all the world prog, is happening within the first week. And most really good groups can clear it in 1 week, whether they have a Red Mage or not, or some sort of optimal setup for progression. So do you guys feel like that maybe is intended, so you don't feel behind?
How easy the fights are?
Yeah.
That's just the thing they're going for, right?
Well, they said they might change it up. I mean, they might make it progressively harder, which is the other thing that was said, right? That these tiers are going to get progressively harder. It's not going to be the reverse like Gordius to Creator was. But so Lackey, basically the point is, though, is that it doesn't matter because you can clear it in week 1.
Yes, unless you are literally going for world prog however many hours a day. I don't think it really matters.
Okay. Koda, do you have any thoughts on it?
This is like the first tier that I cleared everything on the first week, and I guess it did take us until the very last day, but I think that was more of a scheduling thing than me being on Summoner, or I'm just trying to justify it right now. I don't. But
Okay.
I'm not sure if me being on Red Mage actually would have made us like go that much faster, and we're also not like a hardcore world progression static or anything. A lot of us have jobs, or a few of us have jobs, but you can probably play whatever you want or whatever is comfortable though. Like that's just what I did.
Okay.
But I think Irene you were pretty early clear, like day 2 or 3 or something, I want to say.
I think it was 4 days. We cleared it on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So we have a Saturday, a Sunday, and a Monday. Okay. Nice.
Like, would you say that you cleared it faster because you were on Red Mage though?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
There was no contest on that. I think we have maybe taken week 2 if we didn't have a Red Mage.
Oh, really?
It was really bad, actually.
Oh.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. So I do have lots of viewer questions. Not lots. I have a good handful of viewer questions, and we can shotgun through these.
From Arthur's, and they're towards me. You can just remove them.
Does Arthas bug you a lot?
Yes.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, so he had an alt on Leviathan like back in Midas, and we raided like one night together, and like I'm a chick, I talked on TeamSpeak, and he somehow didn't notice, and then he saw me on a stream, and he went, "Wait, who is that girl? Do I know her?" And I'm like, "Dude, we fucking raided together." So, and ever since then, whenever like he hears me on a stream, it's like, "Oh, it's Koda."
Oh my God. Yeah, that's Arthas for you, man. Like he is ridiculous. That's just his personality.
Well, give that boy like an Ewer card or something, because he's fucking thirsty.
Yeah. I got that. That was good. So I don't think Arthas is awake right now. I think he's asleep. So we don't have anything from him, unless if Milla tries to wake him up or something like that. But I think he's fine right now. So the first question we have here. Are you guys ready for questions? Sorry. Lackey.
Yep.
Irene?
Yep.
All right. This is for Koda from Carrie Coco. How much would you be willing to pay if Square Enix put Teddy Bear Iggy Glamours on the Mog Station?
Not as much as I'm willing to pay for like 1 million Amaric portraits for my house.
Okay.
I would actually like the portrait first.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was a troll question when I started reading it.
That's okay.
So I kind of.
That's the scholar in my static. It's fine.
Just to give you some perspective, the next question is for Lackey. And it's from Doctor. The static stat. He didn't spell this right. That's why it's so weird. Does the static stat weight versus dynamic become more prevalent as the expansion wanes down after the later half? See, first question, Koda, complete joke. Second question, serious towards Lackey.
But you have no idea how to interpret it, because neither do I. I read that when he posted it, and so I don't know if this is what Doc was asking, but
Okay.
the thing I said, like, oh, if you pick the correct gear choice and you meld it the worst way versus the best, it's like a 0.5% DPS difference, right? Later in the expansion, you'll have enough stats that gap will widen. I don't know how much, but like the choice of gear of BIS stuff will be more important as you get more gear, because stats are worth more when you have more of them. So it's kind of nice, like this entire not doing stat weights because they're a bad thing, actually calculating like what your effective damage multiplier is by picking stats is a little clunky right now, but it's a good time for it to be clunky and refined because it doesn't really matter right now, or it matters very, very little versus later.
Okay.
So I'll pretend that's what Doc asked.
Okay, fair enough. All right. And we don't have a lot of questions for Irene here. Or, you know what, we don't have a lot of questions for Lackey either. There's a lot of questions for Koda.
Oh no.
Oh, that's all right. Let's see.
Can
Uh,
I defer them to the guys?
can you what?
Can I defer a question to the guys?
Of course.
Okay.
All right. So defer this one over to Irene here. Then this is from Nimhi. What do you think the big summoner rework will be versus what you'd like it to be?
Yeah,
That's a
Irene can take
difficult
this one.
question.
It sounds like a good question and like an actual serious question, so he can answer that for me.
Okay.
As in, I kind of feel like the issues with Summoner right now is not really its numbers. So the problem with it is that it's going to take a massive overhaul to change the way Summoner works in order for it to be more intuitive. And it's up in the air really, because I don't know how they intend to do it. But one suggestion that I thought was pretty good was that you should make it such that you only need one ether stack for Bahamut. So you just lower the potency numbers for Bahamut. You make Bahamut do automatic auto attacks, because part of why the job is clunky as well is because of how Bahamut works. It's extremely bad for people with high latency, because they can't get Bahamut to do the auto attacks, and they will tend to ghost the Akmon. We didn't really talk about this, but I think it's fine. You can read the guide if you want to know more about the interactions between that. Yeah, but so if you have Bahamut at one stack, so what this helps is that deaths become not as punishing, because you don't have a 2-minute build up to get Bahamut, and the rotation becomes a lot more interactive in the sense that it's in a 1-minute cycle, so you don't spam as many ruins, or like there are not many transition phases. And I would like it if they could revert the change on Etherflow, because right now the main reason why Summoner is so unintuitive is because Etherflow is so important, but Dreadburn Trance locks you out of Etherflow. So you get into these incredibly awkward situations where you have to just get into Dreadburn Trance and just press that flare, which just doesn't make sense, because you just lose out on 16 seconds worth of 10% damage buff and free ruin trees. But that is necessary because you want to get your Etherflow early on. And that is something that should be addressed by SE as well. So if you just make these two changes, I feel that Summoner would probably be a lot more newbie friendly in a sense. It's more intuitive,
Okay, Yoshida, I know you're watching the show. Please take down those notes and make those changes.
Actually, about the Aetherflow thing, I actually think it's less newbie friendly if you can't Aetherflow during Dreadworm, because it's like then you have another thing to look at. And I think the reason why they did that actually has to do with the new job UI, because like Aetherflow and Aether Trail say this, like they have the same spot now or something.
But that's so stupid, man. Why would you
I really
limit
don't like the Summoner job UI.
Why would you limit the way a mechanic works just because you want to fit it into a user interface? That's so stupid. I mean,
pretty much.
Regarding as in the point about as long as you make Etherflow stacks, Ether Trail stacks basically last permanently, then I think that it would still be newbie friendly. As in the main reason why people felt that it was difficult in 3.0 was that you had to stagger your Etherflow such that
timer.
Yeah, because there was a timer there and you only last for 30 seconds. And to be honest, is that you don't really gain that much out of like using Etherflow in Dreadburn Trance. Yeah, it's a 10% gain, but for someone who is new to the job and they don't do that staggering, or they don't optimize that far into like fitting in Festus in their Dreadburn Trance, it's not really a huge deal per se, as opposed to this right now where I do not understand why it happens as well, is that if you have 3 Etherflow stacks, you can still click the Etherflow button.
Oh, yeah.
That is so bad.
That was such an adjustment when I leveled as Summoner and I would just keep pressing Aetherflow.
Yeah, it's a step backwards really for that. Because it's so bad that if you press that button, right, you might as well just jump down the because it's as good as dying, really, to be honest.
It's just like it sets you a minute back.
And a point to note about dying, right? I would like to clarify on this is that dying is not actually the worst thing that can happen to a summoner. The reason why it's bad is because you lose ether flow stacks and you lose Dreadmon Ether. So if you die at a good timing, summoner is not the worst class in terms of dying. Because if you die right after Bahamut and you have not used the ether flow for some reason, you have to remember that the dots are still taking on the boss. And if you have Tri-D up, you can just use it. And if you have Swift Cast up, you can just Swift Cast a pet with ether flow and energy drain usage. Yeah. And so if that's the case, then summoner doesn't really lose that much in terms of DPS. So the main reason why it's so punishing for summoners is just that you are losing ether flow stacks. And you can lose ether flow stacks not just by deaths, but by other reasons as well. So bad clay, delaying your ether flow is as good as dying. Using ether flow by mistake before you get a Dreadmon Trance is also as good as dying. Because they all have the same effect.
I feel like this question was super serious.
Okay, sorry.
As Box telling us to filter the questions here. So let's get another serious question here. Lackey, you don't have any serious questions, dude. You had that one, and that was it. It's done. But that's okay. That's okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna ask this next question to Koda again. I think I need a filter. I think I need a filter here. God, where is a... All right, fuck it. Koda, how do you and your group get Aether Pack to hit the target you're intending it to hit?
We just let it go on our white mage, and he hits a lot of stones, you know?
Okay.
Like, sometimes it goes on the scholar, and, like, she's boreal and shit. Occasionally, like, it'll accidentally go on a DPS, but... You know, they aren't healing, they aren't like taking damage, so clearly it's, you know, Garuda or Ifrit, they're just like, devotion has 3 effects and the healer, like, you should put it on them. Like, that must be what goes through like Garuda's mind.
Okay.
Does Ifrit still hit not DPS a lot?
So I think at the start, maybe he'll hit a healer. Like I noticed in O4S, it tends to go on healers even at the start. I think that's just because everyone is grouped up like in the asylum or something, or grouped up for Cure 3. So it's kind of goes on fucking whoever. But in the other turns, I think it goes on a DPS or a tank. I think.
You can play around that. So in speedruns, we've been trying this out. So what you just need is that you need to place Garuda on one side of the flank. So when you start the fight, you put Garuda to the right, let's say. And if your monk is on the right flank, then he would just have to be there when you cast Devotion. And then beyond the first Devotion cast, it's basically a free-for-all because it's really difficult to move the pet. If you move the pet, you're going to lose GCDs. Unless you can time it so well in the sense that you look at the pet, it casts its GCD, and then you slide cast it over to another spot, which is really difficult.
Try to in Bahamut, like where I want the pet to stand, because it'll just where Bahamut was. That
works as well. But in general, so the second Devotion onwards, right? What you just need to do is you need to get your melee to be Ifrit bitch. So whenever you say Devotion is coming out in 5 seconds, then you see everyone will start rushing to stand next to Ifrit.
Yeah, the carrot on the stick.
That's basically it. Yeah.
Okay. Lackey, I'm gonna ask you a question. This is from Frosty TV. Lackey, so. What do you think is the best podcast that's currently out there for Final Fantasy 14?
I hear there's this Unchained one that's pretty good.
You know, I thought that too, but they couldn't get you on their show, so I don't.
Funny story about that. I used all my excuses telling Zeno, no, I actually can't be on Unchained, not interested, and that's how I wound up here.
Okay.
Zeno will be so upset.
Got him. All right. Let's go to this next question here. This is for Irene, and this is from, I can't say your name, Koya Kiniko, maybe? Koniko? Oh, there's my dogs too. What do you think the simplicity of Red Mage limits do you think the simplicity of Red Mage limits the amount of potential damage that it can do because it's so simple, I guess is what he's asking.
Well, I mean, the amount of damage that a class does is not really related to how difficult it is, in the sense of, if you just want a class to do more damage, then you just buff its numbers. It doesn't need to be difficult in a sense. But it is true to say that for raid mages, optimization is a lot less rewarding. So doing minor stuff like trying to fit a melee combo inside TA may not really matter as much as you think it is. So you could like try and plan out all your GCDs, all your procs and stuff just to line it up nicely, and then you realize that, hey, if I just critted one more skill in my opener, I'm going to do more than all of this optimization that I've done before. So in that sense, that because the rotation is so simple, it just doesn't feel rewarding to optimize that much. And going by the topic, I mean, for raid mages, what is it to optimize? To be honest, right, out of anything that is out there, what's most important is that you keep your GCDs running. And it sounds simple as a raid mage, but it's hard, because it's funny that raid mage has we always speak of raid mage as a class that is very mobile, that is a lot of instant cast skill. Every second skill is an instant cast. But then we forget that it doesn't have any true instant cast skills. So what if you get into a mechanic where you can't get the first cast off? Then you only have swift cast to help you. And if you don't have swift cast up at the point of time, it's a huge DPS loss. And then if you consider the raid mage has no dots at all, every GCD clip matters a lot. So if you lose one cast, you're basically losing like 200 over potency, which matters a huge more than other classes, like let's say summoner. So if you, as a summoner, if you lose one ruin 2, whatever, man, it's 80 potency, because your pet is still hitting, the dots are still ticking. And for black mages, if you mess up a rotation and you can't do anything, just use Scuff. At least you have a instant cast skill.
No,
raid mages, I mean, okay, if you don't do it, I mean, if you're in ice, you should do it, okay?
No, you never scathe. You just drag scathe off the bar and manually click it if you need it because the boss is about to jump.
Yeah, that's one point of optimization for black mages as well. That you should always scathe at the end of the phase. Yeah, but so for raid mages, it's all about, it's basically think of raid mage as a black mage. It's a black mage with a lot more mobility, but it is still a black mage in the sense that, yes, you just need to get the cast off, and
when you need the turret, it really matters a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a serious question apparently for Koda. It's not a difficult question. It's just saying, what's your favorite and least favorite parts of Summoner in the current tier? This is from Carrie, by the way.
Oh, a repeat asker. I dislike Bahamut being like a sad puppy. That's probably my #1 biggest pet peeve. My favorite part about it is that there's 2 fucking dots and they're both like the same duration. Holy shit. I didn't realize how annoyed that I was by like dot timings in Heaven's Ward until I got to 66 in Stormblood, and oh my god, they're both 30 seconds. This is so great. It's neat. Wow, why weren't they always like this?
Okay, there you go. This is for Irene, and this is from Bok Choi. It's Prague and a DPS dies to stupid. It's the first death of an attempt. Who should pick up the res? A healer or a red mage? I think we actually got this one.
Yeah, red mage.
Red mage for
There's
sure.
no reason for the healer to do it.
Yeah.
Whether, as in, you won't know when you need the mana on the healer, and it's just unwise to like use a swift cast there, as in, because the red mage is just losing what, maybe one GCD skill. Yeah, it just makes no sense for the healers to do it.
Yeah. Okay, this is for Lackey from Nimhi here. Which fight this tier was the most fun to learn as Black Mage, and which one was the biggest nightmare?
I think 01 was the biggest nightmare for me personally, but that was more that I didn't actually understand the fight. I had like 2 or more deaths in our first kill of it. I had like 4 or 5 in our second kill of it. And then after that, I went and watched Miss Tech's guide on it and made a whole ton of notes and acted like I was actually trying to learn the fight.
Hmm.
Um,
Made a whole bunch of notes and act like you're trying to learn the fight.
yeah, like when the mechanics happen, what I need to do for them. I didn't know until like the third week that standing inside the boss's hitbox when the floor turns to ice does a knockback, and then a second knockback happens and you die. I thought like, oh, maybe I clicked something because in between casts you like slightly move to adjust, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, the floor was ice. I slightly adjusted, and that was what happened.
Okay. And did
Between 3 and 4 were probably favorite.
Okay. That's what I was about to ask. I was like, wait a minute.
I think outside of the first mechanic in 3, I really like 3 as a fight. Even the first mechanic, which I'm awful at, I think is really clever.
Yeah, well, the first mechanic you're talking about, the where you have to switch out the...
Yeah, the Spellblade with the tethers and all those. Like, the idea of, oh, you need to separate these, and you need to stack, but you're not stacking on the guy with the stack marker. You're stacking on the guy he's tethered to.
Yeah. I think it was a nice change of pace. I mean, it was something that they could throw together with what they had in the game without making it too complicated, outside of times when it bugs out. But
so it's not really Black Mage specific about those things, but I guess just my favorite and least favorite learning of fights this tier.
I gotcha. I mean, this works. That works. There was nothing in this tier that you're like, I hate being a Black Mage, like during a mechanic.
No.
No? Okay.
No, I was still...
Cross Alpha.
Ah.
Thought of not actually, the knockback one. It's so RNG based.
Kinda? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's hit these other questions. We have a couple more serious questions. This is Pew Pew. I'm sure this guy is not Pew Pew. This is for Irene. As a player that plans to switch to Red Mage, how RNG is the opener?
RNG? It's not RNG at all. 0 RNG.
There you go.
If you're using Swift Casino opener, no, this. I mean, it's only RNG if you want to do a 7 GCD melee opener, which is kind of iffy. I mean, just not do it if you are new to the job. Yeah, it's only useful in really specific scenarios, like you want to get your last melee combo in the trick attack, and in O1S it matters as well because of how your skills line up. It depends on how much spell speed you have. You can get another cast off before the ice light if you do a 7 GCD melee combo. That was my experience when I was doing the speedruns. But yeah, besides that, I think you can just get away with doing a 8 GCD opener. It shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can make it through these troll questions real quick. All right, Koda, this is from Truly Yours. When are you going to release the last Macros Delta episode? I don't even know what this is.
What? That got released. Truly's fucking drunk right now.
Okay, drunk. Gotcha. It's released, dude. Figure it out. Let's see. Irene, this is from Faye Brand. What's the minimum required? I guess this is someone you know.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
That's my static mate.
Oh, okay. What's the required minimum GPA for people who are to be accepted to Irene Snow's School of the Summoner?
Your GPA doesn't matter as long as you have the attitude to learn. Yeah.
Okay. As long as you have the aspiration and the interest and I gotcha.
We'll give like scholarships or something.
Scholarships for dumb people.
Wow.
Like,
yeah, can I get a scholarship to the Irene school?
Is there athletic scholarships to your school? Oh god.
I mean, to be
personality
honest,
scholarships. Do I get a scholarship for just being nice, even though I suck at the game? Okay. Himitsu, this is to you, Lackey. When are you gonna get a cam?
Ah ha ha ha. No.
It sounds almost like a song. No. And then just keep going and going and going. Make
Yeah.
it into a remix.
I've actually, so not a cam. I kind of wanted to try streaming, just to be able to have videos of like me playing.
Mhm.
But my internet upload is actually awful, and I don't think it would work out. Like I've uploaded some very short videos of Black Mage rotation stuff,
Mhm.
messing with like what you can get away with low latency, and it's like 30 minutes to upload like a minute of footage, which is pretty unacceptable for me.
Mhm.
So, yeah, sad times.
Okay.
I should stop being cheap and buy better internet if they had it here.
Yeah, you should, dude. You're a serious raider, man. That's part of the finance situation with being a serious raider. Right? Right?
I thought it was all VPN.
No.
Like, it costs $25 to sub to this game because you need a VPN.
Not me. I'm close to West Coast, dude. Okay. Nimhi asked me a question. Let's say you had to be a caster for your group. Is the job you have chosen any different than after hearing all the discussions, and which caster is that? I used to play Summoner as an alt job back at T9. I haven't really since then. If I had to play a caster, I'd probably play Red Mage because it's simple, like a Paladin. There you go. Yeah.
Well, isn't Paladin also a caster? So it's like you already play a caster.
It's true. The Holy Spirit spam, which is the weirdest thing in the world to me, but it fits, dude. That's what Paladins do. They spam their Holy Spirit into their enemies. That sounds a little weird, actually. Okay, let's go to the next question here. This is from Ru Uchiha, maybe, for Koda. When are you going to ship post with him?
Oh, he moved here recently. It's like the same state where I am. So I don't know. Like I asked him if he wanted to go out to lunch or something, and he said he had no money. So that's on him.
What a shy boy.
Yeah, that's on him.
Okay. Next question here is for Lackey. This is from Momo-sama. As a healer, would you only raid with a red mage, never a black mage or summoner?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? Like, you get to use Swiftcast for your damage, so that's a bonus. You have someone to res people for you, and Red Mage is really mobile, so you can make sure, like, you can cater the strat to whatever works really well for you, right?
Yeah, it's true. Okay.
So why are you not on Red Mage?
Because he's not a healer.
I'm not a healer.
Okay, let's see. This is for Irene Snow. This is from V. This is just a letter V. There's nothing else there. I think they just didn't want to type their name in. Are we giving the weapon to Sash? Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a misunderstanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, is this about what's his face in the Dark Knight sword?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's about basically it's our alt raid, and then
Oh, okay.
I think you've heard about it, right? You probably did. So it was an alt raid, and then we had a few people that were helping us with it. So at the end of O4S, I think some of them were trying to. Okay, so basically one of our main members was in the alt raid, and he wanted the weapon. But then I felt bad that because there are people helping us, so they should get a chance to roll for the weapon as well. But for some reason, there was some miscommunication. So instead of it being FFA, everyone passed except for me and the guy who was rolling for it, the main guy. So what happened was that I won the roll. If you guys get what I mean. So basically, it's that
Very nice.
it was supposed to be FFA, but everyone passed except for me and the guy who was supposed to get it.
Oh my
Because
God.
all of them somehow thought that it wasn't FFA. So yeah,
they're trying to be respectful and nice.
Yeah, so it became a meme that
At least it didn't hit the floor, dude.
Oh, right. That's
I kind of
the
stole the
group
loot.
called Looter now. That's right. I remember.
Yeah, that's the reason why there's that meme right now.
Okay, and I actually have one serious question that I'll throw in here that just came in real quick. This is from a Red Mage main for Irene Snow. Are you pressured to switch to Machinist or Bard because of how the community thinks the best comp is right now, the old Heavensward comp?
I mean, I'm someone who plays for numbers, so I mean, I've done it in the past as well to switch to Bard and Machinist. So, I mean, if it really turns out to be better, then yeah, I'll switch.
Okay.
I'm not really loyal to the class per se. Yeah.
Not loyal. I gotcha. Gotcha. And this is for me from Konako, I think. Do you know Irene named his alt Frosty Snow after you? Did you do that?
It is named Frosty Snow.
Is it after me?
Not really. As in,
Okay.
it's just Frosty the Snowman. Yeah.
Just Frosty Snow. It's okay. It's okay. It's Frosty Snowman's an inspiration to some of us here, and so we trip over each other's names every once in a while. So it's fine.
By the way, there's a Mock Station sale, so you should buy the minion.
Oh yeah,
the
Hoary
Snowman.
Snowman. Yeah. He's I don't know. I hear he gets around a little bit though.
Buy the Snowman head, guys. It gives you a 10% damage increase and more loot chances.
It looks cool, man. It also looks really cool.
They were memeing about me because within the first 2 weeks, free caster weapon drop. I think we had 2 Red Mage weapon drop and 2 summoner weapons.
Ugh,
So they were all really, really upset.
that's okay. You're set,
Yeah.
and you can throw the other ones on the ground and kind of laugh about it a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
Here's one more question from me, from Nikki. Why no filter? No filter for questions? That's because I don't have someone filtering the questions for me today. Although I probably should. Kerr has been working a lot recently, so she hasn't been able to help out. She works at least 6 days a week now. So she's not able to be here for the show to collect all the questions and everything else. This is working out okay, but it's just... There's no filter for I have to go here and read all the questions while we're doing the show, and it's kind of awkward because I hate taking myself away from the conversation to go do something else, but I have to do that every once in a while. But that's all right. Kota, here's one more question for you. Did you bake Amric's cake yourself?
Of course not. I'm culinarian level 70 in game, but not in real life. That's from a Japanese pastry shop.
Oh, okay. Nice. Did you eat both of those after you're done with that picture?
Maybe, yes.
Maybe. Okay. All right, that's good for questions right now. I think it just filled up. We're already like an hour past estimated time. So we should probably go ahead and start wrapping this up a little bit. But I figured we can go ahead and finish up on this last little bit. Do you guys have any final thoughts on casters in regards to Stormblood or anything else you want to say here before we finish up the show? And I think I'll start with Irene first. Irene, any final caster thoughts? It's weird. Tongue twister.
I think it's not as bad as it was in Heavensward. So don't really follow the meta in the sense that even if it is true that Machinist is better than the free casters, it doesn't matter outside of the top speedrunning groups. So just play casters if you really like it. Yeah. And yeah, it isn't, each of the 3 casters have their own advantages and disadvantages. So if you're a black mage, you can carry groups. I find that black mage is the easiest and best class to play when you are carrying pucks. When you're in pucks, if you know that you're a good player, everyone else is pretty bad, it's so easy to carry as black mage. When I was on my red mage, even with the weapon, I couldn't help a group clear O3S because they just keep hitting and rage. And yeah, resist doesn't matter if you don't if you don't have the damage to do it. Yeah, Summoner is in between, so you do have the race and you do have the damage. Yeah, so basically it's black mage for damage, Summoner in the balance for both of it, and red mage for resist. Yeah, so just take a pick and yeah, hope you have fun with the job.
Okay. Lackey, do you have any final thoughts here?
Not really. I do echo that though. Like, play what you want because it is a game, you know? Like, have fun playing whatever you're doing. and play Black Mage because it does a ton of damage.
And it's cooler.
It's incredibly rewarding. Red Mage, I don't feel super like rewarded in fights for doing well. Summoner, I don't know because I have no weapon and I need like the weapon to gear carry me to do decently. Just as a general thing for all the jobs.
Okay. Fair enough. Koda?
Well, I'm gonna follow up Lackey's Black Mage propaganda by saying that you should play Summoner because
Okay.
Ruby Carbuncle is cute and Deathflare looks pretty cool. And in 4.1, Yoshi P said he is going to change Summoner mechanically, and it will become the strongest job in the game, right, guys? Right?
Yeah. No, of course. No,
Yeah,
it's done.
Have faith.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Have faith, guys. Have faith. We always have to have faith. We're always looking for the next patch to fix everything.
At first it was, hey, Summoners, wait for 4.05, and now it's wait for 4.1. We can keep this
I
going.
mean, seriously. I mean, look at the turnaround time on getting Higgy Clamors.
Well, I mean, but Bahamut is shrinking in size, right? In 4.1, that's something to look
Yeah,
forward
it
to.
should.
Yeah, maybe he'll be like a cute small Bahamut.
Yeah. Oh, well, that would be kind of boring. I want to keep them big and super large, and I hope they just make them bigger and say, ha, who gives a shit what you guys say, and just be done with it. It is what it is. Okay. Well then, guys, I do want to go ahead and wrap up the show then. We're, again, about an hour over, and I apologize for that. I know you're getting pretty tired, probably, Irene.
It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, God. You guys have been amazing to get on the show. This is the first time I've had any of you guys on the show. I do want to again say that I feel absolutely amazed that you came on the show, Lackey, because I've been trying to get you on the show for quite a while.
Yeah.
It means a lot that you finally said yes. I had to be really clever with my words, but I think I got you. And I feel feel proud about it.
I blame Bach.
Really, Bach. You know you're gonna have to go on Unchained, by the way, right?
I'll find excuses.
Well,
I've too recently been on a show. It's drained like all my effort, energy. Need
can't
like
tell
another
me.
couple years to recharge.
You did perfectly fine, by the way, and amazing, Lackey. So you should be on more shows because I think that you would do great. And just to throw this out there too, by the way, if you guys don't know what Unchained is, you should check it out. Just Google Unchained, Xenozisphex, or whatever you want to do. Unchained, Final Fantasy 14. Look at the podcast. It's a way better rating show than my shows tend out to be because everybody there knows. Like if someone was like, hey, do you know what? God, I don't even remember the name of the ability anymore. It's gone. That red mage ability. What was it?
Embolden?
Embolden. Do you know what Embolden does? They'd be like, oh, I know exactly what it does. It's a little bit different there. But Lackey, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anyone that you want to shout out, Lackey?
My Static and FC, who I'm not going to name individually because that'd be a pain. The casters on the Balance Discord had a lot of really good discussions with them, or like throwing ideas and hearing better ideas and stealing them for myself.
Oh, nice.
And what I've been calling Dervy's Secret Theory Crafting Discord, which I help with very little and mostly like absorb the theory crafting knowledge because I really like knowledge.
Then you go to streams and judge people. And
Yep,
say...
lots of judging. Silent judging, mostly.
Okay, good. All right. Irene, thank you very much for coming on the show. I know I gave you like almost no notice to get on this show, by the way, but you were like ready to go immediately. As soon as I talked to you, like, yeah, I want on. And that means a lot to me, dude. Thank you very much for doing that. Is there anyone, or actually, you know what, Irene? Tell me real quick, are you going to go straight to sleep after this show? Or are you going to get on the game and you're going to do a couple of pug groups?
Oh, no.
Okay. Irene, you're super knowledgeable. Thank you so much for being here again. And I would love to have you on more shows in the future, and hopefully I'll give you a lot more time next time to talk about it. The shout-outs that you want to do are for who, Irene?
I would like to shout out to my static and FC as well. I mean, they have been pretty helpful. I've been in LVN for like probably all of my time here in FF. Yeah, they've been pretty good, and yeah, my study mix has been really, really nice and helpful, and I hope that we do well for progression as well in the future.
Oh, that's nice. Nice words there. Very nice words. By the way, are you gonna? You said something about maybe starting streaming at some point. Are you gonna do that?
Oh yeah, maybe, yeah. And I'm thinking of maybe starting some video guides for summoners. So if you guys think it's attractive, then you can let me know so I can, put in some effort onto it.
Okay, yeah. If you guys want Irene to do some video guides or stream a little bit, go ahead and just say it right now, and then he might be a little bit more inspired to do it.
Yeah.
Is Irene Snow attractive? Are you attractive, Irene?
I wonder. Is a snowman attractive?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Have you guys seen the trailer for The Snowman? The 2017 movie?
No, oh, I think I may have. I think is it
I'm
like
not
that?
sure if that is attractive.
Is that like a horror movie thing? That
Yeah.
It reminds me of Jack Frost back in the day. I don't know if you guys saw that movie. It was the same thing, but it was like some psycho murderer who got stuck in like a snowman body and killed people with puns, and it was pretty bad.
Wait, killed people with puns?
Basically, everything was like a joke. I think every time he killed somebody, it was just ridiculous. Kota, thank you so much for coming on the show as well. It was awesome to get you on here. Sorry I called you a guy that one time.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. And Kota, do you have anyone out there in the world that you feel deserves a shout out?
Shout outs to my boy Ifrit. I like him. He lets me be lazy.
It's a nice guy. He shouldn't let you be lazy though, right? He does more if you're not lazy, right? Screw that.
Yeah.
I gotcha. What about Emmerich?
Oh, yeah. Emmerich is, of course, maybe we'll see him more in the X-Pack. When he dies, I guess I'll have to quit. He hasn't died yet, so I'm still here.
I don't think he's going to die anytime soon. I think he'll be around for a while. He's a fan favorite. If they kill him, they'll bring him back. They had to make someone who wasn't really that important to the story to kill him off, right? I took a couple of shots there. I don't think anyone cares. They'll be fine.
Yeah, a shot through the chest right there.
Yeah, straight through the chest. Koda, it was awesome to have you on the show here as well. Koda, do you do any streaming?
I stream a little, but recently I just streamed like a random visual novel that I bought on Steam. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay, all right.
I streamed our statics weeklies, but it's mostly me telling myself I'm retarded with my mic off the whole time.
Oh, you don't even have the mic on when you're saying you're retarded?
I mean, I use push to talk usually, so my static doesn't hear myself calling me like an idiot the whole time.
Nice.
Yeah, and I did stream Dream Daddy.
Oh, okay. There you go. I feel Milla, I relate to Arthas, and so I assume that's how all that stuff kind of went together. And I'm sure that Arthas was there when you were playing Dream Daddy as well. Am I right?
I don't know. Was he? I hope he wasn't.
Lackey, I gotta ask you too. You're gonna start streaming, right?
No, probably not. If I ever get unlazy and have some time, I might actually go through the effort of setting it up and seeing how bad it is with my upload, like how gameplay ability is, whatever.
What's your upload? What did they say your upload is at least?
Probably 1 megabit per second.
1 megabit.
Which divide by 8 is 124-ish kilobytes, 128, around there.
You could do it.
It's really low.
You could just do 420 stream. What is it, 480? What's that resolution? That's in the 400.
480.
480? Okay, I said 420 because it's funny, I guess. It's easy to. It comes to the mind a lot easier. How did you know that right off the top of your head, Irene?
Isn't it common knowledge?
Is it?
It's
It
pretty
is.
common.
Who does 420 or 480? Who does
Yeah, like-
480?
4:3 video resolution.
It's part of the options that you get when you click on settings.
Oh, that's right. I never click on
Yeah.
those things. Yeah. All right. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Well, guys, we're going to close up this show. It's been awesome to have the show. Again, it's I hope that just for God damn it memes. I hope that you guys had a good time with the show. I hope everybody watching the show had a great time. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to all the mods that helped out in the chat. Thank you, Andre Kane, for the music. Thank you, Blizzana, for the artwork that we have here. And, of course, next weekend, the MogTalk that we're going to do, it could be on a couple of different topics. I'll keep you guys updated on Twitter if you guys want to follow on Twitter. Lackey follows me on Twitter. He knows everything that I do there. Isn't that right, Lackey?
If it's really interesting, maybe someone will relink it to me.
Maybe it'll get to you through the Balance Discord. But guys, thank you so much for watching the stream. Please, if you see any of these guys streaming, you can see their Twitch names here, of course. Watch them. Go ahead and follow them right now so you can, maybe get the lucky chance that you'll see Lackey testing, and you can go over there and bug him while he's testing. Guys, thank you so much again. Until next time, we're all going to do waving. You guys can all do your waving. You can't see it, but I know you're doing it, right? All right. Guys, remember to be good, to keep cool, and to do what's to stay frosty. Ha ha. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.